My 30F, semi-disabled mother, 65F, moved in with me. My BF, 34M, hasn't been handling well. How do I handle this? I want to try and be as brief as possible, but there's a bit of nuance. I'm an only child to a single mother. My parents divorced when I was really young and my mom was the person who raised me. I'm very aware of the sacrifices she made to ensure I succeeded in life, despite how poor we were. Maybe 5 years ago, my mom had a stroke and a series of TIAs. These changed her personality somewhat, and caused some mobility issues. She doesn't exactly qualify for disability, because she is still able to walk around and take care of herself, she could theoretically hold a job, etc. She has about a year and a half until she qualifies for Social Security. We're in the US. My mom started her own baking business in 2019, after working as a baker for 20 years. This obviously failed in 2020. She coasted for a bit before becoming the live-in caregiver for my gran until she died, and then the executor of my gran's estate. That brings us to now. She was living in my gran's house, which sold. She found herself with nowhere to stay and no income. I live with my BF, 35M, in a 2BR1BA apartment. We have been dating for 2.5 years. I am very much the breadwinner. I estimate that I pay around 80% of household expenses. I make $50 HR, he makes $21, I also WFH, so I generally take care of making dinner, doing dishes, shopping for groceries, etc. If my partner does any of these tasks, it is under my direction. We originally agreed my mom could come stay for a month while she found a job. She has struggled to find a job, she can't be on her feet, and has limited use of her dominant hand, and her last 25 years work experience is as a pastry chef. She's been applying every day, and she's had a few interviews, but no serious leads. We have had a lot of discussion about this, mostly that I am unable and unwilling to kick my elderly, disabled mother out with nowhere else to go. We have other family, but I am the only one with a spare bedroom. This has caused a ton of tension between BF and me. He has really started to be generally unpleasant to be around all the time. He's very moody, prone to outbursts. He gets angry if my mom stays in her room, says she's cowering and hiding when he gets home. He's even more angry if she and I are on the couch together when he gets home. I feel like I'm a stranger in you and your mom's house. If I go into my mom's room to talk for a little bit, he says I'm ignoring him. Along with this, he started to tell me almost daily that I don't do things with him enough. I don't kiss him enough, snuggle enough, talk to him enough, etc. etc. Anytime I am doing something fun, or for myself, he will start a big fight. It feels like living with a storm cloud, and I constantly feel like I'm dropping the ball in like 7 different arenas. This all came to a head this weekend because he was driving me to a photo shoot. I had been working on making this big, crazy costume, and a friend volunteered to take some pictures of me wearing the costume. I can't emphasize how meaningful this was to me, and decided this was the time to tell me that he would never tell me to kick my mom out, but he's really angry that I haven't done it already, and that I should be on team us more that team someone else. I understand a relationship should be a priority, and my mom has been with us almost 5 months. I don't think that this is an easy situation, or one that he isn't allowed to have feelings about. But the fact that he seems to genuinely believe that I should kick my elderly, disabled mother out into the street really shocks me. It also makes me really question our future. Like, if this is how he is acting over a family member needing our spare room for a time, what would happen if we had a special needs child? Or if something happened to me? I'm a big believer that a good relationship is able to thrive even in times of crisis. How do I handle my boyfriend's big feelings without telling my mother to leave? Comments. Commenter 1. I don't think this is the partner you want. My dad was dying of pancreatic cancer and had home hospice. My mother, who was stage 4 breast cancer at the time, and I took care of my father, and a nurse would come in regularly. Toward the end, when my dad lost control of his organs, my husband wouldn't let my mother or I change him. My husband changed my father's diaper because he said my dad deserved dignity in his final days, and having his wife or daughter change him wasn't dignified enough. That is the partner you want during the tough times. Reply. I was married before, and my ex-husband's dad died pretty suddenly. I saw firsthand what the loss of a parent feels like. And the guilt that you might have been able to do more for them. I just honestly can't imagine putting the needs of a boyfriend over the needs of my mother. Commenter 2. Exactly. So please don't. You have many more years to be with this man if you choose to. But you really cannot tell how many more years you would have with your mother, and to me, the weight of angering some man is so minuscule compared to the weight of not being there for my mother when she needs me, who is always there for me, would be devastating to live with. I can see both sides and understand why BF doesn't like it. However, BF is a choosing beggar. He is unhappy that his sweet deal has come to an end. He has a housewife that paid 80% of his bills. Is this really someone you'd want to have kids with? That would mean time off work, dependent on C-section etc., more money for example daycare and much more work at home for you with a dead weight for a partner. It sounds like you've dodged a bullet finding this out now. Clearly he wants the status who to remain but he has to leave if he doesn't want to live with your mum. Update. Thank you so much who offered advice on my previous post. So much of it has been really helpful. I did my best to reply to comments and I was surprised by all the responses I got. So much has happened since I posted this, and I feel there was some information that I excluded from the original post, because it felt irrelevant at the time, but now does seem relevant. First, I kind of want to elaborate on my mom's behavior while living with us. This didn't originally feel relevant to this post because my mom really feels like a fixed point to me. Like she's going to behave how she behaves. That doesn't change that she's my mom and I feel I have a responsibility towards her as long as she isn't violent or outright abusive. Also, I'm pretty desensitized to my mom's quirks. I've been dealing with her my whole life. It doesn't really occur to me to think critically of her behavior. My mom is really manipulative, and I am easy to manipulate. She is the type of person who will make small, seemingly innocuous comments that over time kind of create a new reality if you are around her frequently. So over the time she lived with us, she really made me feel that 65 is very very old, and it's unreasonable to expect a 65-year-old to take care of herself. She also basically didn't take care of her personal hygiene. It was very hard to get her to shower. To the point where she would smell terribly. It was hard to be in a room with her. I would, of course, beg her to shower. And every time it was a very long, drawn-out, dramatic and emotionally intense scene. She would cry. Sob. She would tell me she'd promised to do it in the morning the following day, and then the next day she'd be throwing up sick. She'd beg me not to shame her for struggling, emphasizing that she's getting old, and as you get old it's hard to do things. She'd talk about being afraid of falling in the shower and no one helping her because I'm so ashamed of her. After she did shower, if I thanked her, she'd burst into tears and talk about how difficult it had been and how scared she had been of falling. This happened almost every time. I want to emphasize that at the time this was upsetting to me, not I kind of just accepted it. I also felt horribly guilty for causing her emotional distress, and going through this whole process like once a week was pretty overwhelming. Also, there had been a pretty big blow-up where I realized that she hadn't been applying to any jobs. She wanted me to fix something with her phone, and it led to me seeing she had 0 applied jobs on Indeed, 0 confirmation, we jot your application emails. None of that. I asked her to furnish any proof that she'd been applying and she couldn't. She swore up and down, tearfully, that she had been applying, but she couldn't prove it at all. This made me really upset, but she still had nowhere to go, and she's still my mom. So I didn't really know what to do. I started making her show me every morning the jobs she had applied to. Afterwards she did this voluntarily every morning. I had been told when she first had her series of TIAs that she needs to go on short, frequent walks. Otherwise she will experience blood flow issues that cause things like numbness in her limbs. She barely moves at all. So much that her leg muscles are very atrophied. I have offered to go on walks with her, buy her a walker etc., but she always declines. It's worthy of note that I work from home. So I was around her constantly. She was the only person I talked to, other than BF, sometimes for weeks. And when BF came home, he was usually really short-tempered. So for me this created a reality where my mom was feeble, elderly, shouldn't be expected to care for herself. Trying her best. And BF was pissy, irritable, mean. Kind of ungrateful about everything I did for him, and for our relationship. My mom would comment frequently about how hard I work to have dinner ready when he gets home, and how he never appreciates it. How immature he seems compared to me. So for most of the day I would be dealing with my mom's emotional scenes, hearing a constant streams of subtle negative comments about BF, all so innocuous and focused on praising my efforts that I didn't realize how they were influencing me. All these realizations came later. Shortly after I made the original post, BF and I had a conversation that ended in us both calmly deciding it would be best for us to break up and move out. Luckily, our lease already ended and we were on month to month. So this wasn't an issue. It took a week for us to arrange new places to live. I got a 2BR for my mom and I. He found a studio. This happened at the beginning of this month. We both move into our new places at the end of this month. BF requested that mom go elsewhere for a while so we can pack without her being around. I wholeheartedly agreed. We've been together for a long time. This is difficult. Going through a breakup, living together for a month, and also having your ex's mom be there constantly, terrible. My cousin agreed to let my mom stay at her place. This is not a long-term arrangement, she's sharing a bed with my cousin's mom, who lives with her. My aunt has MS, it's a different situation. I can elaborate if desired. It's fine for a bit, but not forever. With my mom gone, everything changed. BF and I were getting along perfectly. BF's entire mood and vibe reverted back to how it was before. Fun, kind, hilarious, delightful. I felt like I was waking up. I had a few consoling sessions that helped me to realize that most 65-year-olds do take care of themselves. My mom does have some issues, but a lot of the issues are within her ability to fix. She hasn't been trying to sign up for government assistance. She hasn't been trying to do anything. She hasn't even been taking care of herself. At all. I realized through counseling and talking with friends and family that just because she's decided not to take care of herself doesn't mean I have to sacrifice my life to take care of her. I also had a lot of conversations with BF, ex-BF now, where we were able to really see how the other person was affected by all of this. He really now understands how this constant manipulation was causing me not to really see my mom at the situation clearly. He also understands that despite everything, she is my mom. And for my part, I really understand why he was just at the end of his rope and was acting like a dick all the time. He was acting like a dick all the time. He openly agrees he was. But yeah. I get it. I really do. He wasn't the problem. We def had some stuff to work on, and that was present before my mom moved in. But I think all that was fixable if we didn't have 6 months of me slowly being brainwashed, and him slowly becoming the worst version of himself. I do have a lease, which mom is on, for a year in the new place. I've decided that I will hold that lease for 1 year. After which I am moving into a 1BR, alone. If in a full year she has not found a way to support herself, at that point it won't be me making her homeless. I can't keep supporting someone who makes no effort to support themselves, seems perfectly happy to have my life fall apart and contributes nothing at all to our shared home. I'm happy to help her however she asks me to during the next year. But I can't set myself on fire to keep her warm. Especially if she makes no effort. There are options out there for her. She's perfectly capable of looking into them. I need to give myself the love, care and consideration I've given her. I have to have a question, so, what guidance can you give for someone living with a parent who has a proven track record of being manipulative? Comments. Commenter 1. You are doing everyone, you, your boyfriend and especially your mom a disservice by moving with her for a year. Reread what you wrote. Your inability to assess the situation as unworkable is highly concerning. Reply, I don't disagree with you. I am really concerned about it. I signed the lease and everything before she went to live with my cousin. At this current moment, my mom really doesn't have anywhere else to go. She's staying with my cousin and my cousin's husband is kicking her out the day our lease starts. I feel that 1 year is ample time for her to get her shit together, so I won't have to feel like it's my fault if she winds up homeless. I don't think this is like a good solution. But it's kind of the solution I have right now. Commenter 2. Stop this, dude. Stop making excuses. Stop putting her needs before yours. Grow a freaking spine, OP. Commenter 4. 6 months of me slowly being brainwashed. So let's make it 18. Commenter 5. Let's be real, it's really been 30 years of brainwashing. Commenter 6. That started off so well and the same old excuses. She needs a year, she has nowhere to go, she can't stay at my aunt's. You have not learned nearly as much as you think you have or need to. You are just repeating the same cycle. You know your mom is a whole adult. She knows she can apply for jobs, government assistance etc. She is choosing not to. Even if she doesn't know how, she can go to an office and get help. I guarantee in a year nothing has changed. She will call your bluff and you don't have the spine to actually kick her out because she still won't have money and still won't have a place to stay. She is smart enough to manipulate the hell out of you, so she is smart enough to see she can pull your strings to stay and have a live-in nanny do everything for her forever. All at the cost of your happiness, independence, youth and relationships. OOP, I certainly hope that this isn't the case. I have already filed the intent to vacate from my new apartment at the end of the lease. I'm doing my best to set things up so I can stick to my boundary. I'm aware she's a whole-ass adult and needs to do stuff for herself. I also know she's choosing not to. I worked with a counselor to help set a boundary that mitigated my feelings of guilt. The boundary was this 1-year lease. Commenter 7. Your boyfriend dodged a huge, spineless bullet. Commenter 8. This is extremely relevant info and shouldn't have been left out of the original post. Did you do that intentionally to get sympathy and make your BF seem like the bad guy? You may be as manipulative as your mother. Regardless, while your mom may be manipulative, it sounds like she might also have anxiety disorder, chronic depression, or both. She needs to see a doctor about these possibilities as there are many medications that can help. Reply, a lot of it I didn't realize until she left. No, I did not purposely exclude it. I included all details I thought were relevant at the time. At the time I made the first post I really wasn't seeing her as manipulative at all. I was just kind of seeing her as someone who is really depressed and struggling and needed help. I didn't realize the extent of the manipulation etc. until she left and I had a few counseling sessions. I agree now that it's important information and should have been included, which is why I made this update. The first post was indicative of my perception of the situation at the time. As this post is indicative of my perception of the situation at this time, my mother does have diagnosed clinical depression and anxiety. She also has Graves' disease and her thyroid was removed. Which kind of makes clinical depression symptoms a lot worse. Like it increases feelings of depression. She has been medicated for these in the past but she lost her insurance when she turned 65 and hasn't been able to afford Medicare due to not having a job. I've been doing my best to get her on state programs which was difficult because she was previously living in a different state than I am. And since she wasn't on the lease where my boyfriend and I were staying, she didn't technically have an address in this state and was unable to get state assistance. Now that she is on a lease she does have an address and is in the process of getting on some state programs so she can get properly medicated. Stories number 2. Mistaking female kindness for flirting. Hello, I was looking for a female's perspective on a recent experience at work. I'm a male, 49, and work in an office with a mix of older and younger female colleagues. A much younger employee, F24, had been very kind towards me and greeted me each morning by my name and would accompany me occasionally as we walked to the same train station. I creepily took this as a sign that she was interested and suggested on lunchtime walks as I said that I noticed her walking from my seat on the bench. I believe she was weirded out by my advance as I've noticed her distancing herself from me. I realize my error as she was merely being respectful and viewed me as someone older and therefore not a threat or someone that would try and hit on her. I do find her attractive, however she's a coworker and the way she reacted to my walk suggestion tells me I'm very wrong. My question going forward is, do I apologize for my actions or just let it be and stay out of her sight? She's a great person and I enjoy the light conversation we would have and I hope that we can just be workmates without it being weird. How bad did I screw this up? Stories number 3. I, 26F, think my boyfriend, 30M, is exaggerating or faking his illness. Saw someone's post yesterday about navigating life with a partner who has fibromyalgia and felt inspired to post here. I'm hoping y'all can give me some solid advice. I, 26F, have been with my boyfriend, 30M, for a little under 2 years. In the time we've been together his chronic pain, which isn't connected to any particular known condition as he refuses to go to the doctor, has gotten worse and worse. It's reached a point where he's almost incapable of doing chores or house projects, is usually too exhausted in pain to make or agree to plans, and getting him to do anything outside of the house together is like pulling teeth. His objections always revolve around his pain and fatigue. I've never suffered from chronic pain, and thank God, so I'm not one to judge or accuse someone of making it up since the pain itself is invisible and my boyfriend looks perfectly healthy, but he's now been unemployed for about 4 months and I'm starting to question things. I'm starting to feel doubtful for a number of reasons, and the main ones are that A, he never turns down his friends' invitations to hang out, even when the activity is something physically intense like kayaking, or going hiking, or going to a music festival, and B, he is never too tired and too much pain to have sex. Over time it's almost made it seem like he's conveniently in an unbearable amount of pain when he has to do something he isn't all that interested in, i.e. chores, and I'm starting to feel hurt that he just doesn't seem to want to hang out with me outside of what we do lazing around the house. I've never accused him of faking or exaggerating his pain, but I have tried to talk to him about doing more fun stuff together, and it always circles back to his pain or him accusing me of trying to keep him from spending time with his friends, which I'm not trying to do by any means. I've done a ton of research into autoimmune disorders and other conditions that could be causing his problem, always bringing my findings and suggestions to him, but he just doesn't believe a doctor or any traditional medicine will help him. I'm also bothered because when we go to family outings or parties that we're both invited to, it's rare, but it does happen, he will talk anyone who will listen's ear off about how bad his chronic pain is and how frustrating it is to not be able to find a solution. The thing is, he's not actually looking for a solution. He just smokes weed every day and calls that good enough while lamenting and complaining that his body is the way that it is. He also refuses to return to work because of his pain. For additional context, he seems to have really extreme muscle spasms tightness, particularly in his back. I'm happy to support him through hard times, but the fact that he won't work is getting concerning and I feel severely stuck. I'm not interested in supporting him financially on a long-standing basis, but at the moment I partially am by covering some of his expenses. If this post makes me a total asshole for questioning the degree of my boyfriend's chronic pain, so be it. I just need help and answers. So, here are my questions. Where do I go from here? Do you think it's possible that my boyfriend is using his pain as a crutch? Should I put some kind of ultimatum in place that will get him medical care attention? Your advice is appreciated. TLDR, my 26F boyfriend's 30M chronic pain is highly questionable and I'm not sure how I can motivate him to get better. I'm worried I may just be getting taken advantage of at this point. Top comment. Commenter 1. Even if he does have chronic illness, he isn't doing anything to get a diagnosis or treatment and he is willing to push on for things that benefit him and only him. He's also developed a drug addiction he has no plans of curbing. I am chronically ill. I am busting my ass trying to find answers and help because living like this sucks. I do everything in my power to support my partner and care for our home. While sometimes that's not a ton, I always prioritize contributing to my household over kayaking, which even if I could push through to do, would put me down for a week. This man is using and taking advantage of you, disabled or not. He also has dumped this on you without you consenting to be his financial caretaker. You're not married. There is no, in sickness and health, here. Leave him. Update. Thank you to everyone who responded to my post and was so compassionate and kind. It was incredible to hear from so many people who actively battle chronic pain illness and those with loved ones who do. I hope to continue deepening my empathy towards anyone who is struggling with an invisible illness. On to my update. Armed with some fresh perspectives, and some fresh frustrations, LOL, I talked to my boyfriend and told him that he needs to see a doctor or I will no longer be able to support him financially and stand by while he remains unemployed and unmotivated to get the help he needs. I also addressed the idea of balancing his energy levels differently so that we're able to share household responsibilities more effectively, spend quality time together, and keep him doing the things he loves with his friends. His response was, really bad. He told me that if I'm not willing to step up and clean around the house, something I'm already doing, that there's no use living together and that my efforts to clean are the bare minimum and not good enough for his standards anyway. He was also really mad that I haven't taken initiative to take care of yard projects and car repairs. He sat there and spouted off a whole list of things I'm not noticing in cleaning. And, once again, he was focused on this idea that I don't like his friends and jealous of them and want him spending less time with them, which isn't true at all. This really stung. He basically brushed over everything I said and focused on my perceived faults. This told me everything I need to know and I told him I was leaving. He was just, mad. Not sad or hurt at all. I'm still crying excessively over his whole reaction. I still don't know how real or unreal his chronic pain is, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Thank you again, everyone, for your support and kindness. I'm truly at a loss. TLDR, my 26F boyfriend, 30M, of almost 2 years and I have separated over his inability to address his chronic pain. Stories number 4. Should I, 30F, tell my brother, 34M, that he's gone viral? His ex-wife, 30F, published a popular article about how shitty he is. You know how your Android homepage pulls articles it thinks you would like to read into a feed? Today the robots brought me a very dubious present, an apparently popular article featuring my ex-sister-in-law, let's call her Eve, from one of those Facebook-driven clickbait sites. The article is about my brother. I don't want to link it, as it uses her real name and photos, but for context, it's got 33,000 shares, and a video that highlights the story has almost 2M views. It's meant to be a love story about her, real, profound struggle to leave her first husband, my brother, who we'll call Jim, to be with her current partner. She seems very happy with the new guy, which is great. But she felt the need to introduce the story by painting my brother as a fat-shaming, dream-crushing, emotionally abusive bastard. She repeatedly returns to her misery as his wife as a refrain. Let's be clear, Jim's not a fat-shaming, dream-crushing, emotionally abusive bastard, and nothing in this article revealed anything worrying about him to me. I know more about the situation, from both Jim and Eve, than I honestly want to. Jim feels things very deeply but sucks at talking about it. His big expressions of love usually involve kind acts he never mentions to anyone, and he hates spending money. Eve feels deeply too, but her approaches clashed with his. She always scaled the highs and lows of her life into public epics, and her big expressions of love usually involved big gifts. They got married very young. She walked out on him after 10+ years. They're both much better off. He still blames himself for almost everything. The melodramatic article is pretty par for the course Eve. But as you might deduce from the above, Jim is a profoundly private person. He cares very much how others see him. I want to curl up and die just thinking about how much he would want to curl up and die reading this article. Jim and I weren't super close growing up, but we are now. Like a lot of siblings, we're simultaneously polar opposites and the same person. I act more like an Eve than a Jim, case in point, I'm asking about this on Reddit, but he and I react to emotional situations in very similar ways. If something like this was out there about me, I would want to know, especially since real names and photos are involved in the article. He's not named, but it's a small town. I would be devastated if my loved ones knew and didn't tell me. I live in another state. I have no idea if he knows about the story. Jim isn't a heavy Facebook user, but it's an important news source to a lot of his friends. My family has a bad habit of hiding things in order to, theoretically, protect loved ones from pain, so I can't really ask them. My personal impulse to tell him is at war with the family habit, and I genuinely don't know which is for the best. Help, kind strangers. TLDR, my brother's ex wrote a popular clickbait article outlining how miserable he made her when they were married. My brother is very private and very sensitive. Should I tell him? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I think you should let him know that you saw the article, that you thought it was unfair to him, and ask if he's aware of it. If he does already know, he might appreciate a sympathetic ear. If he doesn't know, he would probably much prefer to find out from you than someone he isn't as close to, who might not choose their words carefully. Reply. Thank you very much. This is the way I'm going. I appreciate the advice on softening the blow while being honest. Commenter 2. This seems outrageously far-fetched. Is your brother a British prince or something? How would Google even know to recommend some clickbait obscure article about people in another state? Reply. LOL, yeah, it's all a bit wild to me, too. She writes for the township paper sometimes, and usually I get those articles in my feed. Yesterday another local paper featured her in one of those reverse parades teachers have been doing because of quarantine, and I clicked on it. I assume that's why Google decided to look for more stuff involving her. Commenter 3. I don't want to link it, as it uses real names. Is Jim's full name listed in the article? How easily could one deduce that the brother you personally know as Jim is the same person that this author, Eve, is speaking about? I'm not a lawyer, but depending on the nature of her writing, it may be slander, if her statements are both specific and falsifiable. Talk to a lawyer. But regardless of the legalities, if your understanding of the popularity of the article and Jim's social media network suggests that either he, a friend, or a professional colleague could get a hold of this article and its contents, you should warn him. This could allow him advance notice of knowing about the article before someone whose opinion he cares about finds out. He can then be prepared for any questions, concerns, or backlash he gets. But if you think it's not popular enough for that situation to happen, then it's up to you. Reply. Thank you for the response. I should have clarified, it contains the full names and photos of his ex and her new partner, but my brother is fortunately only referred to as the first husband. You wouldn't have to do much sleuthing to Google her name and find his from wedding announcements, etc., but it's not literally written in the article. Edit. Thank you all for the advice. I'm calling him tomorrow, after recruiting a close friend who can be there in person, at a socially safe distance, to talk after, plus asking his wife to take the call with him. Some people have asked about the emotional abuse thing. I'm very, very confident about my understanding of our situation, but I'm not comfortable sharing all the gory details here. I've removed a couple of my comments below. I feel like I said too much. I'm trying to avoid attacking Eve's character more than my explanations already do, plus avoid trying to prove my brother's innocence for people unwilling to take me at my word by dishing out even more stuff about his private life, especially since it's all out of context. To hopefully satisfy the curiosity a little bit without being too huge an asshole, the article and its content are part of a long, documented pattern of Eve's choices in a variety of life areas. Jim has only had supportive, positive relationships outside this one, and has since gotten remarried to an awesome woman who never hesitates to communicate openly in a healthy way. But people who do report abuse should always be heard and assumed to be honest, and their accusations should be seriously and fairly investigated. Update. As positive an update as there can be. My brother, aka Jim, his wife, aka April, and I video chatted a couple of days ago now. Long story short, they already knew, and he's toughing it out like a champ. They've been showered with support from all sides, which probably makes him more uncomfortable than ever, but he seems to at least appreciate the good intentions. We took a couple minutes alone, and Jim seems more worried about the extra stress this inevitably puts on April than about himself, for better or worse. He told me he knows that it's all bull, and that it doesn't feel quite real. I flailed around trying to ask him to please call if that ever changes, since I can reality check with him from the era of Eve the Ex. I hope he would, though I'm not sure how realistic it is to expect that or to assume that he wasn't just putting a rosy lens on it for me. April was able to tell him first. One of Jim's friends called her soon after the article caught fire to check on them. She looked it up and talked to him right away. It's no one's first experience with Eve's choices, unfortunately. April's amazing, and there really couldn't be anyone better to process this with him. They ended the call because the kids were climbing him like a jungle gym begging to play Legos, so they're already doing a great job helping him focus on the things that matter. TLDR, my brother's wife had already talked with him, and they're both tough stuff in the face of adversity. Hooray for family. Edit. This isn't a parable about how poor, innocent men constantly have their lives ruined by horrible women through random accusations of assault. That parable is a bullshit narrative concocted by cis, straight men who don't know how to cope with company at the top of the hill. This just happened to be the situation we were in. Needed to say that. Cheers. Edit 2, who, instant hate mail. Stories number 5. Got blocked after showing a guy how my body looks. Basically as the title reads. Told a guy that I'm a bit chubby before we planned to meet up in person and he asked to see more full body pictures. He was acting like he was really into it. I asked if he was into it but he wasn't saying a yes or no and kept asking for more pics and sent heart eyes multiple times. Then he said, "Is that really all the full body pics you have?" And I said, "Yeah, I prefer taking selfish over full body mirror pics," and then he blocked me. So yeah, my self-esteem has plummeted. I know I'm one who has a pretty face but my body doesn't match that. I'm still progressing and going to the gym. I eat right. I'm not fully to the end results yet. But having struggled with body issues, damn that really hurt. Edit. We're both in college, and also, I appreciate all the positive comments, thank you all so much, it's making my day a bit brighter. Edit 2. Please read the part where it says I am going to the gym and progressing and I am not to the end results yet. I also didn't angle my body to look skinnier. I'm aware that people do that and I wanted to be as honest as possible so I always show what I'm bringing. I think it's valid for me to be upset that this guy full on blocked me because he's a pussy who can't communicate that he wasn't into it. People have preferences. That's okay. Stories number 6. To fool by making my girlfriend think I was cheating on her, when I was actually planning a surprise. Alright, this actually happened over the weekend, and I'm still a bit shaken, and relieved, writing this. So, my girlfriend, 25F, and I, 26M, have been together 3 years, and I wanted to do something really special for her birthday coming up. I decided I'd plan a surprise party and propose to her at the party in front of our friends and family. Ambitious, I know. The past few weeks, I've been sneaking around organizing everything. I bought a ring, conspired with her best friend, and even had secret calls with her parents to get their blessing. I was so excited and sure it would be an epic surprise. The fuck up began with all the secretive behavior this required. I'm usually an open book, but suddenly I'm hiding my phone, texting people behind her back, and making up lame excuses to duck out of the house. Need to run an errand by. I thought I was being slick to avoid spoiling the surprise. In reality, I was acting sketchy as hell. Her best friend, who was helping me plan, messaged me something like, "Can't wait to see you to go over the final details," while my girlfriend was borrowing my phone to play a song. I snatched the phone back so fast and pretended it was a work message. Mistake. At that point, I officially raised every suspicious red flag possible. I could feel her side-eyeing me the rest of the night. Over the next few days, I noticed my girlfriend getting quiet and anxious. I tried to play it cool, but I was often rushing off to take calls from the party venue or whispering to her friend about party prep. She started asking me strange questions like, "Everything okay between us?" And I just nervously laughed it off, which only made me look guiltier. I was this close to the finish line, so I figured it would be fine once I pulled off the surprise, if I could avoid looking like a cheating jerk for 2 more days. Well, last Friday it all came crashing down. I came home and found my girlfriend in tears, holding my iPad. Pro tip: if you have Apple devices, they all get your iMessages. She had seen some of my message exchanges with her best friend about the plan and keeping it secret. One out-of-context line from me said, "I can't wait to finally do this. It's so hard to keep lying to, girlfriend." I meant lying to her about why I was busy, but oh my god, out of context it looked bad. She confronted me sobbing, thinking I was having an affair with her best friend or something. She was shaking, my heart absolutely dropped into my stomach, and I started panicking trying to explain, "It's not what you think." It took me a solid minute to get her to stop yelling and listen. I was literally on my knees, not exactly how I planned this, trying to calm her down and tell her the truth. I said, "I swear, I was lying because I'm planning a surprise for you. Please just open that closet." She was confused, and still sniffle crying, and opened the closet, where I'd hid the birthday gift bag with the ring box inside. She turned back to me, and I just blurted out everything, the party, the proposal, how her friend and parents were in on it, and that I'm an idiot. She went from angry crying to shocked crying, and finally started happy crying once it clicked. I ended up officially proposing to her right then and there on our living room floor, because why not at that point? Not the grand romantic tableau I envisioned, but the ring made it onto her finger. She said yes, through lots of tears and a half laugh at how absurd the whole situation was. We just sat on the floor hugging each other, both kind of trembling, her from the emotional roller coaster I put her on, and me from narrowly avoiding complete disaster. Later on, when things calmed down, she did kind of scold me, "You dummy, I really thought you were cheating. You scared me." Fair, I feel like a total jerk for putting her through that. We also had a laugh when she realized her best friend's texts were about cake and decorations, not secret hookups. In the end, we decided to still go through with the birthday party that night and act like the proposal was a surprise in front of our friends. It was awkwardly hilarious because everyone but her thought she was genuinely surprised when I got down on one knee. They had no idea she'd found me out beforehand. We haven't told that part of the story to our families yet. That little fiasco is just between us, and, well, now the internet. TLDR, I tried to plan a surprise birthday party and proposal for my girlfriend, but my secretive planning made her suspect I was cheating. She discovered some evidence and confronted me in tears. I had to reveal the surprise, engagement ring and all, earlier than intended to prove I wasn't a dirty cheater. She's now my fiance, and I'm never planning a surprise like that again without a cover story. Stories number 7. My 14-year-old son got arrested yesterday and I'm happy. Yesterday, my son was arrested by the police because he made death threats to 2 girls from his school. I've been fighting for years to get my son a psychiatric evaluation, but no one believes me. For context, in the past, I was a victim of domestic violence. The father of my children raped me, hit me, tried to strangle me, insulted me, and made death threats. He did all of this on impulse. He was never imprisoned because it was my word against his. I have full custody of my children, and he has them on weekends. He lives with his parents, so there is some safety for my children. Co-parenting with my ex has been a battle for over 10 years. He does everything he can to make me look like a bad mother. I'm the one who meets my children's needs, while he just buys their love. My son is like his father. He has extreme impulses. He has punched holes in the walls, been violent at school, and done many other things. I have sought help multiple times, but I keep hitting a wall. Our healthcare system takes too long and doesn't take enough action. Most doctors didn't believe me when I told them about the situation. They pretended to send the necessary documents, but nothing happened. We are being followed by a social worker from a program that helps young people, but even she didn't see the severity of the situation. Every week, I am forced to attend family meetings with my ex, who boasts that he has zero problems with our son and that the issue is only at my house. When I spoke to the investigator, I told them I knew I would meet them one day because no one ever believed me. I feel so sorry for the victims my son has harmed. I know exactly how they feel because I have felt it in the past. Now, everyone is scrambling to cover themselves. The father remains in denial, refusing to take any responsibility. But the truth always comes out. My son is with me. We are waiting for his court date. He have restrictions. He will change school. Tomorrow, we have a doctor appointments to have medication and a reference in psychiatry. Little update, I saw another doctor today didn't want to help. He just said go the ER. I'm sure we will wait for at least 16H. Relevant comments. Can OOP get her son into a mental hospital? And cut the father out? Reply, all mental hospitals are full and they only accept people with court order. Our streets are full of people who need help. I can't legally cut the father because of the court order. Our system helps more criminals to escape the responsibility instead of helping the victim. Just to see a specialist it can take at least 1 year. Why didn't OOP take her son to a psychiatrist and a psychologist? Reply, need a doctor referral, without one you can't. They always refer me to some programs that take the problems like it's light and can be fixed just by talking. I have an appointment with my son to have one, and with what happens I think they will believe me now. Where OOP located and her area is have healthcare? Reply, Quebec, our health system is oversaturated. People die in the ER without seeing a doctor because of all the cuts they do. The wait to see a specialist can take months, even more than a year. You pay a lot of money or you go outside the country. OOP explains about the courts in her state area. Reply, the court never sees we are victims even after the relationship is over. My ex's lawyer told the judge I was an unfit mother because I let my ex rape me. Stay strong, one day they will see how good you are for your children. Commenter 1, like father like son. I hope the court sees how toxic your ex is for the kids, considering your son is starting to follow in his father's footsteps. The court needs to cut off contact completely, or at the very least make it supervised so that conversations between father and son gets monitored. Behind closed doors it'll be your word against his unless your son repeats and confirm it. Any psychiatric help your son will eventually get won't be effective if his dad is in his ear with poison. Update, my 14-year-old son got arrested and I'm happy. Several of you have asked me for an update, so here it is. In the days following the arrest, we consulted a clinic doctor to get a referral for psychiatry. He refused and told us to go to the emergency room. We didn't go because my son was not in crisis, nor sick, and even less so injured. Our emergency rooms are overcrowded, and we risked waiting 20 hours. The first appointment we had after the incident with the social worker who has been following up with my son since August was very difficult. My son's father said as he was leaving that he had done everything for our son to get help. I shut him down by telling him that calling Child Protective Services for cleanliness issues, false complaints, and the police for violence against me, I have never hit my son, even though sometimes he deserves a kick in the butt, only caused more problems for me and nothing else. During the meeting, the social worker tried to understand what was going through my son's mind. In short, it was a teenage argument that escalated. The next day, the social worker scheduled an appointment with me alone. She referred me to 3 support groups. She explained that even though my relationship with my ex is over, he continues to exert another form of violence called post-separation domestic violence, multiple stops in child support payments and false complaints. I contacted one of the support groups, and they can help my son at the same time. My son has accepted that his behavior is not normal and that he needs help. Last Monday was the big day. My son appeared before the judge. Essentially, the lawyer received the case file that very morning, so the hearing was postponed to next month. On Tuesday, we had a meeting with the new school. We had a brief discussion with them. For now, I'm still waiting for everything, but mentally, I feel better. My ex is starting to realize that he's in trouble, and the worst is yet to come for him. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm glad you are heading in a better direction. Keep up with all your counseling sessions. They will be of help to you. They will help your son. They will help both of you deal with each other. Let your ex do whatever he is going to do. He is just now realizing the error of his ways. What I suspect is that he is looking at his potential financial responsibilities. So in regard to your ex, just handle your business. Good luck to you and your son. Commenter 2, where are you OP? When you've experienced DV, your kids experience it with you. They become violent because of it. He may need therapy. Is there any way to get him to a trauma counselor or psychiatrist? Reply, I'm from Quebec, Canada. We are waiting for it. I should have a call this week for it. Commenter 3, as someone who has mental health problems, I hope so much your son can get the help he needs and feel inspired to keep it up. I've been in the psychiatric ward more than once and life can be hard, but when I got on my medication my whole life changed. My mind was very quiet in a way I don't think I'd ever experienced before. Maybe even you should inquire about some medication if it's possible, because it truly is a life changer. I know it doesn't always work the same for everyone, but there's hope with this and beyond. Reply, I was thinking about the medication, but without a diagnostic he can't have it. I know he needs it because sometimes he can't control his word during class. Stories number 8. Aita, for telling my husband's family that I had an abortion not only because he cheated on me but also because he was planning to leave me and take my child to his mistress. I, 33F, am married to Jeff, fake name, and we've been together for 5 years. To explain my situation, I think I need to give more context about our relationship. He's 4 years older than me, and we met when I started working at the same company. We started dating and our connection grew. We moved in together after 8 months, and after our 2nd year, he asked me to get married, and we started planning our future. Although he wanted to start a family, I wanted us to have financial security and a home before thinking about children. After our 1st year of marriage, I agreed to try for a baby. I never had much desire to be a mother, but I wanted to make my husband happy, and we thought it would be quick and easy. But it wasn't, and the more time passed, the more frustrated we became, especially him. We got checked out, and neither of us had any problems that would prevent us from conceiving. But my husband kept insisting, and I tried to be understanding because it was something he really wanted. His brothers and sister already had families with children, and he was feeling pressured by his parents to start us down that path as well. But there came a point where I spoke to him seriously about the possibility that we might not be able to have children. For my part, I was fine with that because he was my family, and I asked him if it was the same for him. But Jeff didn't take it well and left home that night. Even though I tried to reach him 1,000 times, he didn't answer until the next day. He told me he needed some time to think things over and that he would be at his parents' house. The relief of knowing he was okay didn't last long after reading his message, and I was afraid my marriage was over. For 2 weeks, I waited to hear from him, talking to his mother, with whom I've always had a good relationship, to find out how he was doing. When he returned, his attitude was more serious and cold, but he told me he wanted us to stay together even if we didn't have children. He continued to be an attentive husband, but I felt he was increasingly distant from me, and we spent very little time together. I decided to give him some space because maybe he hadn't fully processed his feelings yet, but the gap between us grew wider and wider. For the next 6 months, he was more distant, canceling dates, or fighting over stupid things, until one night when he came home quite drunk and went to bed without saying a word to me, I decided I wasn't going to take it anymore. I shouldn't have done it, but I looked through his phone and what I found devastated me. My husband was cheating on me with a coworker, a woman I knew who was also married. I found texts, pictures, and months of videos of the two of them together. The next day, after he left for work unaware of my condition, I called my best friend, who came to comfort me while I told her everything I had discovered, not knowing what to do. I felt guilty because I couldn't give him the family he wanted and that had made him run off with someone else, even though my friend told me 1,000 times that it wasn't my fault but his for cheating on me. I couldn't face him afterward, I couldn't find the time or the words, and 3 weeks went by like this, and my health was also affected. I vomited often and felt very tired. My husband did notice this, and for the first time in a long time, he showed concern for me, which only made me feel worse. I pushed him away whenever he approached, until one day he surprised me by asking if maybe I was pregnant. I knew it wasn't possible, but he insisted on buying a test and giving it a try. And indeed, I was pregnant. But happiness never came. I didn't want this. Jeff was ecstatic, and he wasted no time calling his mom to tell her the news, without asking how I felt or even considering me at all. Then he went to work, kissing me with a sense of happiness I hadn't seen in months. I didn't go to work, I called in sick, and I stayed home overwhelmed with everything. I didn't realize how long it was until Jeff came back, with a bouquet of roses and my favorite food to celebrate the news that we were going to be parents. I felt too sick to celebrate, but even so, he started talking about everything that was coming. The only thing I could ask him was if he would stop working so much to be home with me, but he was evasive and said it wasn't necessary until the baby arrived. Later, I checked his phone again, and it was worse than the first time. Apparently, he'd already been planning to leave me, but with the pregnancy, he told her they'd have to wait a bit for the baby to be born, and then he could leave me. He'd make sure he had custody of the baby so they could finally get married and be a family. Everything we'd both talked about and planned, he was now going to have with another woman. And in that moment, I made the decision that I wouldn't have the baby. I wasn't going to be tied for the rest of my life to this man who didn't care about me and who was going to throw me away like an old rag. I didn't say anything to Jeff the next day. I packed my things and went to my parents' house, to whom I unburdened myself about everything that had happened. In the end, they said they would support my decision, even though it was clear they didn't like the idea of an abortion. There I texted Jeff, that I knew what he'd been doing, that I wanted a divorce, and that I was going to have an abortion. He didn't answer, but that night he came to my parents' house, banging on the door and demanding that I come out to talk to him. My dad took charge and told him to leave and that I didn't want to talk to him, but he kept yelling at me, calling me a murderer and saying that he would ruin my life. It wasn't until my dad threatened to call the police that he left, but he continued to bombard my phone with calls and texts for the next few days. He was joined by his entire family and some mutual friends, all telling me what a horrible woman I was for leaving my husband. I blocked everyone, but Jeff and his family kept creating accounts to send me messages and threats. Even with my fear, my decision didn't change, and last week I went to the clinic. I recovered in a few days, and my parents helped me find a lawyer to start the divorce process. But 2 days ago, Jeff's mom called me again and this time I answered, expecting the same treatment that I received via text. But she was gentle. She apologized and said she was upset about everything that had happened, but she wanted us to talk and find solutions. She insisted I go to dinner. I hesitated for a while, but decided to go to tell her the truth. Dinner was last night, and I thought it would be just her, but everyone was there, my father-in-law, Jeff, his brothers with their wives, his sister, and some uncles I'd barely met. I felt anxious about so many people, and when I asked Jeff's mom, she told me this was a family intervention to get him to reason and return to my husband and accept the baby. The worst part was that everyone already knew about Jeff's affair, but they excused it by saying it was just a slip, a mistake, and that our marriage shouldn't suffer because of it. They wanted to do what was best for me. One by one, they explained why I should stay married for the sake of the child. When it was Jeff's turn, his speech was the one that woke me up and filled me with rage, because it was pure lies about how I had distanced myself from him, and because of that he made a one-time mistake, but he just wanted to get back to how we were, go to therapy if necessary. I interrupted him and asked him how he could consider an affair of more than 6 months a slip or one-time mistake. And that left him cold because maybe he didn't expect me to know that information. Then I went on to ask his family if they knew that he planned to abandon me after I had the child, take me away from him, and start a family with his mistress, adding in the fact that she was also married. Everything I hadn't been able to say in person before came out in that moment, everything he had put me through and the messages I had found on his cell phone. I ended up saying there was no going back, that I was going to file for divorce, and that I never wanted to see him again. Jeff's brothers and his father started complaining, demanding an explanation from him, but Jeff's mother kept talking to me, insisting that it was all a mistake, that things would change when the baby arrived. I confessed to her that I no longer had the baby, that innocent man didn't deserve this hell, much less a father like Jeff. I apologized because she burst into tears, and I left before anyone else could stop me. Today I came to my best friend's house and she suggested this option to vent and maybe receive some other perspectives. Stories number 9. Final update, Aita for terrorizing my brother by making him live in his own filth. To catch up, my brother is a pig and destroyed my home. This led to me figuring out my whole family kind of sucks. He ended up leaving with his barely legal girlfriend, leaving his newborn and ex whom he was cheating on. You can check my post history for context. Well, after all of this I have not talked to anyone in my family at all but kept in contact with his ex and have been spending a lot of time with the baby. I have never liked his ex, she was with him for a reason. I think the only reason they lasted for years instead of my brother's usually couple of weeks or months before the girl runs screaming is because she is, in a lot of ways, like him. Even knowing that I kept contact like a dummy because I felt so awful over the kid being left and I secretly think they are doomed because of their goofy parents, I know how horrible it is to think that. I wanted to be a positive force in the kid's life. Well, my brother found out somehow that I have been around the kid and somehow got my new number, which totally perplexes me because no one in our family has it. He called me and cried that he does not want me around the kid because I will never do to his child what I did to him. This confused me because 1. When he left, he declared his ex must have cheated and the child was not his, they clearly are, so why is he saying, his child, and 2. I have never done anything to him. I was made to be his mom, which is crazy because he is older, but never even given the authority to correct him, so I spent my life chasing after him cleaning up all his mistakes whilst he tormented me and treated me so horribly. I ended up literally medically diagnosed with PTSD. I asked him what I did to him, and he said I always judged him and even when he was a kid, I looked at him with judgment. I hung up on him right there because LOL. I judged him. No duh. I could fill books and books with all the bad choices he has made and all the horrible things he has done to others. From the time he could talk it seemed like all he cared about was hurting others and offending others. And he has never been actually punished for anything. I was the only one who judged him, and after his actions he rightfully should be in jail. If the worst thing he has suffered is judgment, I mean LOL. I have suffered way worse, often at his hands or because of his choices. The cold truth is if it wasn't for my judgment and care he would be gone of an OD about 1,000,000,000 times over. Or he would have called the wrong person a slur and found out the hard way. The only thing that kept him alive was me trailing after him fixing mess after mess. He apparently talked to his ex, and she has blocked me and told me I will never be allowed to mess up their child like I messed up him. I do not need anyone to tell me she is appealing to my brother to try and win him back and that this is two deeply broken messed up people blaming their shortcomings on me because it is easier than looking in a mirror. I know. Anyways, I felt something snap in me and it was like all my care, anxiety, and worry drained out of my body. I do not care about this anymore, or any of them. I changed my number again, limited my context list even more, and when I can I am moving. I will not be providing any more updates on him or my family because I do not care about these people anymore and I do not plan to have contact again. Thank you for all the help. Stories number 10. Aita for not making my son give rides to his stepsister to from school. I, 45M, share 3 kids with my ex, 16M, 14M, and 11F. We divorced 10 years ago. My ex, D, remarried 8 years ago and has another bio daughter, 7F, and a stepdaughter, 14F. My kids have never really gotten along with their stepsister. She pretty much gets whatever she wants. She has always had her own room and bathroom at their mom's house, my daughter had to share with her brothers. She does not do chores and expects my kids to do whatever she asks them to do. Things have been really bad the last 2 years and a little over a year ago, my oldest came to live with me full time. A few months later, his brother followed. My oldest turned 16 back in December. I bought a car for him. My only request was that he would take his brother and sister, my kids, to school, which he agreed to do. My sons and their stepsister go to the same school. Not long after I got him the car, Dee started asking that my son take his stepsister to and from school. My ex's neighborhood is on the route to school from my house. He refused. My ex tried to make him do it. I refused. Well, last month, we got a winter storm come in. The first round was not supposed to be bad, so there was school. But, quickly the weather got worse than predicted, so the school let out early. My sons were walking to the car with a friend to head to my house. Their stepsister was standing near the car with a friend and was on her phone. She told my son, "Mom says she cannot come get us, so we need to ride with you." My son refused. She handed my son the phone and my ex was on the line. She demanded that my son give his stepsister and her friend a ride. She was across town getting groceries before the storm got worse. He refused. His stepsister started yelling at him. He ignored her and they got in the car to leave. She and her friend got in front of the car so he couldn't move. He honked his horn and told them to get the fuck out of the way. They eventually did, and my son left her and her friend at the school. A teacher saw the incident, so we were called by the administration about it. We told them what happened. My sons were not in trouble, but they said, "We need to work out this family conflict." Afterwards, my ex and her husband tried to talk to me and blamed me. I told them, "It isn't my fault, y'all raised an entitled brat who no one likes. Y'all have enabled her behavior for years. I have tried to get y'all to address it, but I am done. Until you stop being a worthless mother and stepdad, I do not want to hear shit from either one of you. Your own sons despise you. That is all on you." Then we left. I have not spoken to my ex since. I do feel bad for my daughter because tensions have been high at my ex's house and she is there half the time. Relevant comments. Did OOP's ex contribute to pay for their son's car? Reply, my ex did not pay for the car or contribute to it in any way. She does not pay insurance on it or put gas in it. My son has not lived with her in over a year. She does not get to tell my son what to do with that car. Period. This is not my ex's car. She does not get to say who can or cannot ride in it. I didn't even know the stepsister's friend who also wanted to ride. My son gets to decide who he trusts to be in a car he is driving. Period. The car is legally mine. It is in my name. OOP responds to comments on his son being an asshole for leaving the stepsister and her friend stranded in a snowstorm. Reply, school was open and students were directed to wait in cafeteria until their ride showed up, if they did not have a car ride already. I believe she had to wait like 90 minutes for my ex to get there. But, the school was open with some teachers and administrators staying until all the kids were picked up. OOP explains the setup regarding why his sons and daughter shared a room together at their mother's house while the stepsister had her own space. Reply, here was the setup when my boys lived there. 1. Master bedroom was where my ex and her husband slept. 2. There is a mother-in-law suite with an ensuite bathroom. Stepsister had that. 3. My kids shared room and bathroom. 4. Youngest slept in a little area connected to the master bedroom and used the master bathroom. Now, without my sons there. 1. Stepsister had own bedroom and bathroom. 2. Stepsister has ensuite still. Had that. 3. My daughter and younger daughter share room and bathroom. Update. Answers to common questions. Looks like, at least until June 5th, it would be illegal for my son to take his stepsister and her friend home. I am not going for full custody for my daughter because she is highly attached to her little sister and would be sad to not see her every other week. But, I take my daughter to and from school every day, it is across the street from my office. While things are tense at my ex's, it does not appear that she is being treated any differently than before. There are no buses available for my kids and their stepsister are there on an inter-district transfer. Update. A little over a week ago, my ex reached out to try and see what we could compromise on about the situation. I told her there was nothing to compromise about. I explained that until June, he legally cannot take her anyways, I do not want her in the car, and our son does not want her in the car. My ex said it simply is not doable for her to take her or her dad to take her to school every day. If our son could take her on Tuesdays, they could do the other days. I told her no. This Tuesday, their stepsister demanded a ride. My son told her no, and she pushed him, a teacher saw it and she is facing possible in-school suspension. Disciplinary issues like this could compromise her inter-district transfer. That is the update. Relevant comments. OOP explains about his state's laws about new drivers, considering his 16-year-old son and who he can only take in his car. Reply, our law is a little different. He can take one passenger or unlimited number of passengers as long as they are in the same household. The law in our state is, if someone 21 or older isn't in the car, then until 16-1-2, he can have one passenger or anyone who is a member of your household. If it was only his stepsister in the car, he could drive her. But, obviously he also has his brother with him, and sometimes his sister, so he cannot drive her then. It has nothing to do with the age of the passengers. He generally did not drive friends around. On this occasion he did drive a friend around, which was illegal. He will not be doing that until June. On June 5th, he is 16-1-2 and the restriction is lifted. I do not see it as dying on a hill. The school is 30 minutes from my house. I got the car specifically for school to make my life more convenient. It makes absolutely no sense to not use the car for school. How was the stepsister getting to school prior to OOP's son getting his car? Reply, my ex was taking her. My ex's husband recently had to switch jobs and took a pay cut. My ex does shift work. She is on day shift right now. She wants to switch to afternoon shift because it pays more. If she switches, she cannot pick her up. Most days her husband can run, pick her up, then take her back to work, but apparently they have a weekly team meeting on Tuesdays that would prevent that. This is what she has told me. I have not verified any of it. Commenter 1, I find it suspicious that she doesn't have the same pickup issues with the 7 years old that she does with the 14 years old, especially if work is supposed to be the issue. Reply, to be fair, the 14-year-old school is a 20 to 25-minute drive away. The 7-year-old school is in their neighborhood. Stories number 11. Aita for refusing to drive my brother to his own wedding after he told his fiance I'm too unstable to be a bridesmaid. So I, 22F, have been ride or die for my brother Liam, 28M, and his whole rushed engagement to Charlotte, 26F. I helped pick out the ring, listened to him freak out over every dumb little detail, even sat through Charlotte's meltdown over napkin colors. Like, I've been in it. I was supposed to be a bridesmaid, had the dress, the shoes, was in the group chat with all the Pinterest links and bride vibes spam. Then out of nowhere, last week, Charlotte calls me crying and says I'm out of the wedding party. I'm like, what? Why? She gets all awkward and then drops the bomb. Liam said you've got too much mental health stuff going on and he's worried you'll cause drama. For context, yeah, I had a rough year. Breakup, therapy, got diagnosed with anxiety and depression. But I've been doing the work. I've never flipped out at family stuff, never made anything about me, I've been chill. So I just stayed quiet. I didn't want to start something. Then yesterday, Liam hits me up all casual, like, hey, best man's sick, can you drive me to the venue? I texted back, nah, I'm too unstable to drive. Wouldn't want to cause a scene. Now everyone's calling me petty. Mom says I'm being immature and should be the bigger person for his big day. Whole fam group chat is basically guilt-tripping me, but like why is it always me who's supposed to eat the disrespect and still show up with a smile? Stories number 12. Aita for having my MIL attend the birth of my first child instead of my mom. I want to preface this by saying that my husband is currently deployed, and will most likely not be able to come home for the birth. Knowing this, my husband and I had originally planned for my own mother to fly into town and help me before and after giving birth. Keep in mind, we were going to pay for the plane tickets. For the past few months, I've had this gut feeling that my mom wouldn't be able to help me in the ways I needed to be helped. So I discussed this with my therapist, and we decided that I should have a conversation with my mom letting her know what I may need help with. The following days I finally gathered up the courage to talk to my mom and let her know how I expect the stay to go. I told her I'd probably need help with cooking and chores that require bending over in the event that I had to get a C-section. I also told her that during this time, her role is to be my mom and not grandma. She laughed at that comment, and the whole conversation made me feel uneasy. That feeling was solidified when my sister called me the next day and she informed me that my mom was complaining about how I had a bunch of rules for when she visits. Then 3 days later she calls me. I had an inclination that it was because she was upset with what I was asking for, so shortly after I answered the call I said, my husband is leaving for deployment tomorrow, we are doing XYZ one last time, to hint at her that now isn't a good time to discuss. Unfortunately, my mom doesn't exactly care about others' needs or emotions and she kept pressing. She asked me if I even wanted her to visit, and she also made a snide comment about me wanting a live-in maid. When I tell you I lost my shit, I am not even kidding. I'm not proud of this, but I yelled at her, and I said, I'm sorry you expected to come here and be catered to. Have me cook and clean for you with my vagina bleeding and my nipples chapped and bleeding when my husband is deployed. That you thought you would get to play grandma the entire time. Her response. Well, you didn't say you wanted that, so, I'm having my MIL come instead. My mom doesn't know. I lied by omission when I called her the following week to let her know she can visit when my husband returns from deployment instead. She thinks that I am just going to have local friends assist me. I told my sister I may have my MIL come out instead, and she was skeptical, but mostly because of our own mother's reaction. Like I am making the wrong choice because if our mom were to find out, it would cause immense drama. So. Aita. Edit. The only people who know that my MIL is coming to help are my MIL, myself, and my husband. I mentioned the idea of my MIL coming to my sister because for a brief period, my sister was going in my mother's place. However, due to my sister being a LND nurse in a different state, the likelihood of her being able to be here when I go into labor was slim to none. So I casually mentioned to my sister that my MIL cancelled her cruise and will be available when I'm due, to feel out her reaction to me no longer needing her help around that time. Anyways, that's why my sister knows that there's a possibility of my MIL coming. I purposely haven't told her my MIL is coming to prevent her from slipping up and telling my mom. I know, it's all messy and it's mostly because everything unfolded so quickly. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. You and your sister ought to think about how much worrying about your mom's reaction to things affects your choices. Reply, that's something I'm working on in therapy. I felt pretty confident in my decision until my sister was like, oh, but it'll be so bad. Then that's when I started having some mixed feelings. Commenter 2, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see a problem with asking your mom to be a live-in maid. I did it for my daughter this past summer when she had surgery for some touch-up work after 4 kids and a hysterectomy. I did whatever she needed and made sure she had lots of ready-to-bake meals in her freezer for when I left. Reply, the only issue was the context and tone in which she said it. It was super accusatory and she said I was speaking to her like I was interviewing her for a job despite me saying I was serious because asking for help is just hard for me to do. OOP responds to a comment about being passive-aggressive. Reply, no, the passive-aggressive means I'm frustrated because I've mentioned countless times that I am trying to figure how I want to reframe my relationship with my mother and establish better boundaries. For the sake of me and for the sake of my child, yet you're just incessantly commenting about how I should have done X, Y, Z while stating I need to be an adult when things have already happened, and I am already low contact. So go ahead, spam the comments. I'm not responding anymore. Reply, thanks everyone. Logically, I know I'm NTA but I just needed some validation from people not involved to help sink it in. If that makes sense to y'all or not. I know I still have a lot of growing to do, and I know I have to work on my boundaries, with my mom and the desire to overshare with my sister. I'm not perfect, and I'm working on it. Literally, these are my current goals and objectives for therapy. But tie to anyone who takes the time to read my post and provide their insight, I appreciate it. Update 1. After 2 weeks of no contact, I finally spoke with my mom today, and I revealed that I had been distant due to me having to process my feelings. I told her that I found it very hurtful that me asking for help was spun into requiring her to be my live-in maid during my postpartum period. I had also explained that I had not been updating her or my dad on the pregnancy due to their lack of interest support. During this conversation I learned that when I had first asked her for help, she for some reason interpreted this as me saying I did not want her to be there. She kept repeating over and over, well, you had made up your mind that you didn't want me there when you were talking to me about the things you needed. So I stopped her and I was like, make this make sense. Why the heck would I have it in my mind that I'm paying for your ticket to come over here, come up with a list of ways I can want to be helped, work up the courage to have that conversation with you, and have that talk? Why would I go through all of that? I'm 26 years old, I have no interest in playing mind games. She didn't have a real response to that other than, okay. Mystery solved as to where all of that stemmed from. As for lack of interest support, that quite literally stemmed from their reactions, or lack thereof, to the news of me being pregnant and any updates regarding the pregnancy such as the name, gender, and appointment updates. Any information that was revealed to both my mom and dad, I would get a very mild, cool, or response along those lines. When I addressed this today, my mom asked, well, how do you want us to react? I responded with, I shouldn't have to tell my parents how to show interest or excitement over a new grandchild. While it may seem like this conversation didn't quite go well because there was no real promise of solution change, it was extremely healing for me. I prefaced the talk with, I am not expecting anything to change. I'm letting you know the reasons I have been distant. I have already thought about this, and I have already processed these feelings. I need to put this out there so that way it doesn't build and I don't end up resentful. Overall, it just really sunk in that I am able to stand up for myself and it felt so good to correct her for putting words in my mouth. Also, I felt so proud because I was able to have the conversation be very matter-of-fact, focused on actions not character, and remained calm throughout the talk despite there being jabs and unnecessary remarks. But yeah. Thanks for all the people who provided input on my initial post. There's a lot more layers childhood trauma that feed into the dynamic I have with her, so just know that this update and the initial post is kind of like a little scratch on the surface. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your mother is spinning things to suit her narrative. It's not logical, and it's not something you should think about. If your mill can help you, take her help. I'd say your parents aren't ones to rely on for this new chapter of your life. Have they always been like this? Has your mom always spun things to change the narrative? I hope you have a speedy recovery. Congratulations on being a new mom. Reply, this talk definitely opened my eyes that she creates this narrative to help preserve her ego and play victim. Something I already knew, but this helped solidify it even more. In the past she would reframe things to make it seem like she was some great mother figure, and she would place herself in an imaginary competition with my own mill and my sister's mill. So that has always been a constant. However, this was the first time where she revealed a false narrative in this way. As for my dad, he's quite aloof for lack of better words, and he tends to follow my mom's lead. And thank you. As I enter the 3rd trimester, it's sinking in more and becoming more exciting. Commenter 2, I know these words are used a lot on Reddit but your mother sounds manipulative and toxic. Manipulative because she tries to spin it in a way she is a victim. This behavior has been present since as long as you can remember, it's clear as day from your post. It's like she's trying to make you feel like you're crazy. Reply, she definitely was trying to make me feel crazy. She had also claimed that I was ignoring her and avoiding her for months. Which I also had to correct. I had to explain that I started distancing myself mid-September, but I still responded to her and answered calls up until 2 weeks ago. I told her the only reason why it feels like it was worse than what was actually happening was because for once it was not me doing the heavy lifting of the relationship. In the past, I was the main one constantly reaching out, texting first and calling. And to be frank, within those 2 weeks she made only 3 attempts to contact me. She called me 2 times. When I couldn't answer those, she finally texted me this past Saturday, and I responded to it saying I've been very busy, which is true, and that I loved her. But the way she retold it, she had it in her head that she was constantly calling me and texting me, but I was just straight up ignoring her. OOP clarifies the details on calling her mother to fly in to help her at home. Reply: when I found out I was pregnant, we knew my husband would be deployed when I was due. So early in my pregnancy I spoke with my mom, and asked her if she would be to come and help. She agreed to come, and we offered to pay for the ticket. Then last month, I called her to have a conversation that was focusing on what ways I may need help since I had not really had a real talk with her about that. I had just made comments in passing. Was OOP able to directly tell her mother that she is no longer needed to come out for the birth postpartum time span? Reply: I had already told her that I didn't want her to come. She knows that she is allowed to visit when my husband returns from deployment, and if that doesn't work for their schedule, then they can wait until we find time to fly back to CA. I did that last month, and I believe I may have mentioned it in my initial post. I could be wrong because pregnancy brain. But after I had that talk with her mid-September, I just felt like I needed time to think and digest everything because it kind of made it settle in my mind that she isn't capable of being the mom I need her to be. So after all the bigger emotions like anger and sadness settled, that's when I called her again, yesterday. Because I felt that she at least deserved to know what I had been distant and why I wasn't willing to act as if everything was okay like she does anytime there's conflict. OOP on the lack of support from her parents. Reply: I think I assumed they would be excited and show interest because they do that for my sister's 3 children. But as my husband and I continue to get unenthusiastic responses, the less we are affected by it. Overall, it does sting to know that I get more support from my someone I've known for 7 years, versus my own parents. But it does get a bit easier every day because I have come to realize that what really matters at the end of the day is that my husband and I are truly ecstatic for this baby. My parents' lack of interest and support will never take that away from us. Commenter 2, your mother didn't even plan to pay her own way. I'd never dream of expecting my daughter to pay travel expenses for me. Obviously her idea of helping hadn't changed one bit, and she only apologized so she could come monopolize the baby. Has she always been this self-serving? Reply: she has, but it's only something my sister and I discovered within the past few years. What made us view her differently was my paternal grandma was in hospice, and my sister told her that maybe she should visit at a different time because our dad might need her during this time. My mom lost her shit, and she yelled at my sister saying that she was taking her grandbabies away from her. That was really what made us look at her completely different. Update 2, well. This is an update I didn't think would actually happen, but here we are. Just a warning, I am raging internally so this may not be written well. First and foremost, the birth went well. My MIL was incredibly supportive and helpful. The months leading up to me giving birth, the relationship I had with my mother was very surface level. I did not reach out as frequently. Things got a bit tense about a week prior to me giving birth due to other familial issues. My mother did not call or text me the 2 weeks leading up to my due date. Honestly, the icing on the cake was my father asking me if I was having a boy or a girl. My husband and I told both of them last summer. The distance led me to telling them I had my son the next afternoon. That decision brought me a lot of peace. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago. I called my mother to chat, not about anything serious. Just a quick check-in. The phone call threw me off because she apologized to me. She said, I miss you. Our relationship is different, and I don't know how to fix it because I feel like I don't have the opportunity to. I should have handled that talk a lot differently. I want to come and help you. I don't know if it was my postpartum hormones, but against my better judgment I offered to have her come for 6 days. Honestly, my first red flag should have been her not fighting back and saying she could pay her own way. But oh well, I figured this visit would benefit me in the sense that I could try to be less resentful, and I could at least say that I tried. She arrived Saturday night, and the first full day was Sunday. I spent a lot of that day feeling agitated because the second I would lay my son down in his bassinet to go do something she would pick him up. It became quite clear to me that my decision to have my MIL come and help me was the correct one. That evening I told her that she cannot pick my son up every single time he cries because once she leaves, I physically am not able to do that for him. I told her that I'm essentially a single parent until the foreseeable future. She sheepishly apologized and said she wasn't thinking about after she wasn't going to be here, but this stay has just been a shit show. I didn't trust her watching him alone for long periods because I caught her starting to fall asleep on the couch while holding my baby literally 30 minutes after she told me I could go nap. Thank God I was in the kitchen prepping dinner and I caught it. She did not offer to make meals. She made a comment about eating dinner at 8 p.m. because she isn't used to it like me. I had to tell her that eating dinner at 8 p.m. is not a choice. I told her she didn't offer to step in and start dinner while I was doing laundry, FaceTiming my husband in between his watches, or nursing my son. What was she doing? Basking in the Florida sun on my patio with the dogs while scrolling on her damn phone. The real reason I'm rage typing all of this isn't even because of her lack of help. It is her lack of emotional support. Today I was told that my husband's deployment is extended. I was sobbing. What did my mother do? She said, "I'm sorry." I haven't gotten a single hug from her. I got this news 4 hours ago. What I did get was her telling me to go take a shower, which was really code for, go shower so I can cuddle the baby because you won't be able to. I feel so angry, disappointed, and ashamed that I spent money on her coming out here. I guess it's not a total loss because this stay has helped me not put on rose-colored glasses like I normally do when it comes to her. Ada, I drop her off in a few hours as planned, thank goodness. For those saying to never pay her way again, absolutely 1000% never happening. I did it because she is always making comments about being single income and having to pinch money. I felt bad despite my husband and I also being a single income family. However, I feel tricked because while she was here it was revealed that my parents are going to Vegas next weekend. This whole stay has left me feeling like a big idiot who was tricked. I'm so glad she is gone first thing in the morning. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm so sorry that your husband's deployment was extended and I'm sending you hugs. Do you know any of the other spouses of your husband's unit or other local military? I've heard that they can be a great support system, especially if they've been through having kids while their spouse was deployed. I wish I could give you more than words to help. You're being hit with so many struggles and emotions while your body just went a major trauma. Even a good birth is a trauma for your body. It's okay to be an emotional mess, and anyone who tells you different is lying. Take support wherever you can get it and don't be afraid to ask, because at worst you'll get a no and at best you'll get that support. Reach out to your MIL whenever you can and consider sending your mom home early if she's still there. Reply, she leaves tomorrow morning thankfully. Then my MIL flies in on Sunday, so I'll get to have a real break soon. Commenter 1, I'm so relieved for you. I don't know if you have considered it, but individual counseling could help you process. Just vent all of this and maybe help you establish boundaries that benefit you while minimizing the guilt you feel, especially regarding your mom. She gave birth to you, but that doesn't mean that you owe her your peace. Reply, I have a follow-up appointment in 2 weeks. I go about bi-weekly, but sprinkle in extra sessions as needed since TRICARE thankfully doesn't have a limit and will pay for as many sessions as needed. Commenter 2, your mother didn't even plan to pay her own way. I'd never dream of expecting my daughter to pay travel expenses for me. Obviously her idea of helping hadn't changed one bit, and she only apologized so she could come monopolize the baby. Has she always been this self-serving? Reply, she has, but it's only something my sister and I discovered within the past few years. What made us view her differently was my paternal grandma was in hospice, and my sister told her that maybe she should visit at a different time because our dad might need her during this time. My mom lost her shit, and she yelled at my sister saying that she was taking her grandbabies away from her. That was really what made us look at her completely different. OOP responds to a comment about her being resent toward her mother because OOP wasn't getting any support as she was hoping for. Reply, yes, I am resentful towards her. I'm trying to work through that. It's hard. She's not a bit selfish, she is selfish. It's not just this, it's a mountain of things from childhood as well as this period of my life. I wasn't passive-aggressive regarding that dinner. I spoke with her about her not helping or offering to help at the end of the night after she made 3 passive-aggressive comments about eating so late when she never vocalized that she was hungry sooner. Time tends to go by very quickly when you're juggling a household and a newborn alone, and unfortunately that means eating later than I'd like to. However, she is a perfectly able body and she could have told me she was hungry and I would have either sent her the recipe I was using or managed my time a bit better. She rarely calls and texts me. I do most of the reaching out for our relationship. If she does reach out first, it's maybe once every few weeks. She did not go out of her way to call me to apologize. Also, she is a hugger. She hugs people all the time. I just couldn't fathom my child sobbing on the couch while I laugh at a movie that is playing in the background while they got awful news pretending that everything is okay. This trip has made me accept that she will never be able to fulfill the emotional wants and needs I wish she could give me. Stories number 13. I waited, so can you. I was at my local Walmart and had patiently waited in self-checkout behind about a dozen folks until I was second in line to check out. I only had one item, which comes into play later. There were about 5 folks behind me when I happened to be looking back and I saw this guy, hereafter referred to as EG, with one small item in his hand walking towards the line. EG never really stopped in the line, but as he was about 3 to 4 steps behind the last person, he walked past everyone towards the one open register. The person in front of me had a basket and couldn't move as fast. I knew what EG was up to, so as soon as he walked past me, I quickly followed. EG went to the open register, scanned his item, and I quickly scanned mine. EG told me that since he only had one item, he shouldn't have to wait. I countered that I only had one item too, but I waited until it was my turn. Since EG didn't want to pay for my item, he told the attendant to void his item and he left. The person in front of me had gone to another open register, and since I was next, I paid and left. Some folks don't think they have to wait like the rest of us, so we have to show them they do. Stories number 14. I've come to realize that I've only had bad experiences with men. Female, 29 years old. Hello, I guess I just want to get this off my chest for the record. I'm fine, but somehow writing this download feels therapeutic. I'm a 29 years old female, and recently I've been thinking about my life, how it went by, and the people I met. I've tried to look at things realistically, and I've noticed that, unfortunately, all my interactions and relationships with men have been negative. There are only a few exemptions, but the relationships with those men are not as close. I'm approaching my 30s, and all my life I thought that this narrative of toxic masculinity is out of proportion. That it was always my fault that I was alone. But thing is, I've come to realize that my brain has been conditioned to be on high alert. It is hard to relax. When I was a child, my father didn't want to see me. He saw me 1 to 2 times, and the last time I saw him he told me that if anyone ever tries to bully me I show them a sign. I realized then that I would need to protect myself on my own. Think I was 5. Later on I realized that that was dramatic, and everyone's is looking out for themselves, of course. As I matured in high school I was called a slut repeatedly. Mainly by boys. No idea why. I never slept, let alone kissed a boy at that point. I just figured I've done something wrong. But again, that phase has passed and everyone's is going through tough times. And both men and women can be bullies. My stepfather was highly emotionally abusive and was close to sexually assaulting me once. I also saw my uncle try to attack my mother. By try to attack I mean tried to punch her, but luckily another male stopped him on time. Later on, when I was about 25, he called her saying that if she doesn't sign a certain document he is going to send someone to kill her. I'm not kidding. The worst part is I don't know if it was alcohol talking or he was serious. Luckily she is far away and safe. When I lost my virginity to my first ever boyfriend, the first thing he did after we did it was get out of bed and say, "That was way too easy. There was no blood." I know how it looks like when someone is a virgin. For the rest of my kafel it made me feel awful and like there was something wrong with me. Later on I realized that's not true. I chose him because out of all the men around he seemed like the most mature one. Later on I met my second ex at the university. He wasn't super handsome, we were mates first and then ended up together. He later admitted that he ignored me on purpose so that he'll know how much I would miss him. In 8 years of being together we haven't spent single Christmas or New Year's together. When I was ill I was always alone. I saw other women being cared for by their boyfriends' husbands and I just felt alone. But I thought that that's normal or there was something that I've done, but I couldn't figure out what. Eventually I left and felt more peaceful. I've been dating in the last year or so and the number of lies I've heard from men is bizarre. One guy I dated didn't communicate for days but claimed we were in a relationship. We had 5 dates over the course of 2 months. I wasn't ready for sex and told him that I need to be in a relationship. What was his immediate response? That he thought we already are in a relationship. He barely communicated. I would get 1 text a week. He still felt like a stranger and was obviously lying. He's got a child too. I was told I'm pretty. I guess if you look at conventional standards, I am. I work out and I used to want to meet someone, and I hope this post won't come across as blaming men, saying men are horrible. No, not at all. I don't believe that. It's just that. At 29 years of age all I can see is how I had to be on edge to protect myself from men. I'm exhausted. I used to want to meet someone, but now it's not that I don't care, but I haven't got the energy anymore. I had one male friend who I partied with in uni. He once told me he had a crush on me. He never tried to sleep with me, but he is the only guy who felt safe. I don't mean that he was a nice guy. My ex number 2 was a typical nice guy. It's just that I felt like my internal defense mechanism signaled to me that he's cool and he is a good guy. We knew each other very briefly. I've matched with several men who later on stalked me on social media. I had to block them. One guy accused me of staring at the waiter on the first date. I looked once and I can't see properly without my glasses, so wouldn't have a buy idea if that waiter looked good or not. He wasn't even serving us. I'm sick of being accused of being a slut, looking at other men being a bad daughter, having to protect myself from men all the while the same men are trying to take advantage and look like they are innocent. I know there are women who had great experiences and it's fantastic. And I know that it is just how I am wired, but I just never realized how bad it was. It feels heavy. Like a big rock on top of me. I see other women having fathers, uncles, boyfriends, and I think to myself, I wonder how it feels to have such a tremendous amount of support and feel safe. I'm not complaining. Just ranting, because in reality, I am going to prevent myself, just like I used, and I'm going to make sure me and my loved ones are fine, just like I used to. TLDR, I've come to realize that I've only had bad experiences with men. Female, 29 years old. Stories number 15. A girl thanked me for taking her rejection the way I did. I went to concert with a friend a long time ago. Great time and all. After the concert I was walking back to my car when I saw a girl standing attentive across the street to catch, wave or yell hi to the artist. I asked her if she thought she would be able to catch a glimpse of her at all. We talked more and she turned out to be more experienced with concerts than I was, since I had to ask after. I thought she was really cute. After talking a while I asked if it would be okay to get her number. Only if she felt comfortable with that. She gave me her number and I went home. We ended up talking for a day or two and finally she tells me she was already talking to someone else and that she enjoyed talking with me. She felt that it would be inappropriate to continue talking to me. I told her it's no problem and thanked her for being very straight with me. She replied by thanking me for taking it so well with a lot of relief, as if it was a gift of charity. I'm sorry. Thanking me for what? I was confused. Thanking me for doing what would be expected. She told me she didn't have good experiences dealing with men's response to rejection. Whose mamas are raising these guys to have such bad reaction when she was clearly a really sweet girl that was able to give very straight answers very respectfully. Some guys just ruin things. There's plenty wrong with guys and girls. This one just always stuck to me when it came to guys. Stories number 16. My fiance tried getting me wasted so she could sleep with another woman. Howdy, I am 28, went to a friend's party with my fiance F30. One of her friends I knew had a crush on her, kept trying to get too close. Told her to back off. My fiancé brushed her off and started grabbing drinks to give to me. I drank quite a bit, but I have a decent enough tolerance. I overheard my fiancé say to her, if we get a few more he'll probably fall asleep and I can meet you in the room upstairs. I immediately refused anymore. And she drove us home. I know what I need to do, and that's leave her. That's 100% going to happen. I just want to know how I go about this. Edit. I appreciate the support and the ideas how I can go about this. I'm gonna record and confront her on this. But I think I'm gonna take the advice as well to give her a little rope to hang herself. Wish me luck, people. I'll be back with an update. Update, she came home. I weren't blunt with her and told her what I heard. She froze. She opened her mouth a few times but was lost for words. I asked what the hell she was thinking. She said it was a one-time thing and wouldn't do it again. I told her that I don't trust nor believe her. She begged me, said she would do anything, told her I want to see her phone. She hesitated but gave in. What I found I wasn't prepared for. This actually had been going on for a lot longer than I expected, about 3 years and some change. I also found dating apps. I screenshot everything and sent them to myself. I also recorded the whole thing. I blocked this trick, but she has been getting burner numbers to keep messaging me. Keeps begging for another chance, that she go to counseling or let me do anything. She even offered to let me cheat. I've been ignoring her, but this wasn't the woman I fell for. I just don't get it. Update 2, so I got a call from a mutual friend. My now ex got into a fist fight with the lover. It sounds like she might go to jail. My best guess. She's now blaming the chick for ruining our relationship. Either way, this kinda is entertaining me. I also took some advice from y'all and posted the recording and the screenshots to our mutual friends, and her parents. I showed my parents everything when I got here and they were so happy that I handled this. My parents told me to thank you folks for your help. If anything else happens I'll post an update. Stories number 17. AIO, my GF held hands with a guy during a party. My long-term GF was at a party with her coworkers, and after a couple of drinks she was holding hands with another guy for a long time. I heard this from a mutual friend who was at that party. He told me besides the hand holding, my GF and the guy had their arms around each other's waist at times. I trust that nothing more happened after that, as everyone just went home after. My GF isn't aware that I know about what had happened. She also hasn't said anything to me about what happened that night. I don't feel good about it and am quite upset with what had happened. I don't know how or if I should even bring this up to my GF. Is holding hands with someone when under the influence a big deal or am I overreacting? Edit, thanks for y'all's reply. Overwhelmingly people think there's more going on and I should dump her. I haven't had a conversation with her yet, but I saw a few of you ask if the guy was gay. Does it make a difference at all if the coworker is gay? And also the coworker who told me is trustworthy. Stories number 18. Should I let my husband have a GF? So here it is, the marriage with my husband has been rocky for a while. With 3 small children, back-to-back pregnancies, he has asked for more intimacy, for years, and I have been unable to meet his sexual needs. He has asked repeatedly for a girlfriend so that she may meet his sexual needs since I am unable to meet his. Other details, he has also expressed that I don't value or respect him. He states I don't listen to him, among many other concerns. We have gone to couples therapy, I have been in therapy, he has gone to therapy, I was diagnosed with prenatal and postpartum depression for all 3 pregnancies, and within the last month, I was diagnosed with ADHD. I don't know how to fix my behaviors to make him feel valued and respected, and I'm at the end of the line. My husband and I have been married for 8 years. We have 3 small children, we have always both worked full-time and the current role that I have is stressful, especially these last few months. Also, my libido has consistently been low since my first pregnancy, and this has been a constant issue for almost 7 out of the 8 years we have been married. To say we have had high and low points in our marriage would be an understatement, and I officially feel out of gas to improve our marriage. And I am at a point where I believe if I don't say yes to my husband having a girlfriend, our marriage won't survive. Tonight, when we calmed down from our argument, he stated that our problems would be solved if he had a girlfriend. And I, in tears, agreed. He was surprised and he stated that a girlfriend would drive me crazy and I admitted it would. I told him that him having a girlfriend would be painful but losing him would be more painful. He then said, I do not understand why I can't just fix myself. And I said if I knew what was wrong with me, I would have already fixed myself. But I want him to be happy, and he has needs, and I know that I am currently not doing that for him. I am so embarrassed to post this here, but I am more embarrassed to tell anyone this, even my best friend. Can anyone please share their experiences on this issue in their relationships? I am obviously not posting everything here and I am not perfect but I do love my family more than myself and want to save it. Thank you for your words, please be kind, I know the idea of letting my husband have a girlfriend is already crazy. Stories number 19. I, 22F, love my boyfriend, 22M, so much but he grosses me out. We've been together for almost 5 months. He's the sweetest, cutest, goofiest and most talented man I've ever met and I feel so lucky to be loved by him. He's always so patient and reassuring, and he always tells me I'm gorgeous in every state I'm in. That's why I feel so guilty for not feeling the same way. It's not that I'm completely disinterested in him physically or sexually, we have sex fairly regularly. It's just that little things like the flakes in his mustache, his peeling lips and his bad breath, all add up and make it difficult for me to enjoy our activities. Every time he puts his tongue in my mouth it's revolting. I told him about his breath before, and while he seemed receptive to my criticism, it hasn't changed. I feel so horrible for caring so much about these things, especially when he still wants to be with me whenever my hair's a mess or I haven't shaved my body or even in the morning when I haven't brushed my teeth yet. He loves me unconditionally. I love him too but it's hard to look past this. How do I tell him how I feel without coming across as nagging or shallow? Stories number 20. They call me lazy while I do everything. So I'm leaving the country. Every day, my parents walk into a spotless house, a clean living room, dishes washed, dried, and put away, clean cupboards wiped down, no washing up left for them to do. I also do the laundry, folding their clothes individually, vacuuming, mopping, cleaning the bathroom, and sweeping the stairs. Yet, I feel incredibly underappreciated. The house is a mess every morning, and I am more than happy to clean up after everyone. But every weekend, when my parents are home, they still call me lazy if I'm not quick enough to get something sorted, make someone tea, or unload the dishwasher, on top of all my other household work. Now, I'm also expected to cook dinner for everyone. I am trying to build my own business while preparing for my new job, where I will be away for 6 months. After finishing my chores, I like to take some time for myself at a coffee shop. But now, on top of everything, I am being pressured to cook dinner too. My mum gets home from work at 3 p.m., and most of the time, my sister and I cook for ourselves. However, my mother gets angry when I forget to cook something for my dad. Sometimes, I am just exhausted from everything I do every day. I feel undervalued, like nothing I do is ever good enough. I even get criticized for going to Costa because my mum can't go since she works. I get laughed at for not having moved out yet, even though I am moving in April, and looked down on for claiming benefits because I can't afford my phone bill. I constantly try to explain that I get tired too and that cooking dinner on top of everything else can sometimes be too much. I deserve a life and appreciation for all that I do. It takes me hours to clean, and it hurts when I'm called lazy, especially when they don't have to lift a finger. I have secretly planned to move away for 6 to 8 months and hopefully permanently, as I will be working on a cruise. I can't take the name-calling, mockery, and lack of appreciation anymore. I am cutting my family off completely. I am tired. I feel run down. Most of all, I feel depressed. Stories number 21. The love of my life 21F thinks I am a creep and hates me 22M for secretly recording her. How do I get her back? I've, 22M, been dating my girlfriend, 21F, for about 4 months now. Honestly, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. She's incredibly sweet, funny, and does these cute little things like silly voices, random jokes, and genuinely kind remarks that instantly lift my spirits whenever I'm feeling down. Here's where I messed up. Sometimes, when she does something particularly adorable or says something really sweet, I quietly record on my phone to capture the moment. It's never been anything weird or inappropriate, literally just her being herself. Later, when I'm stressed out or having a rough day, I'll replay these recordings. It instantly brightens my mood, reminding me why life isn't all that bad. Yesterday, she asked to borrow my phone to order food because hers was dead. I didn't even think about it. A few minutes later, she got really quiet and handed my phone back, clearly upset. When I asked her what's wrong, she confronted me about finding the recordings. I tried explaining why I did it, but she seemed genuinely disturbed and said she felt violated and creeped out. Now she hasn't replied to any of my texts or calls since then, and I'm honestly devastated. It wasn't meant in a creepy way at all. I genuinely just find comfort in hearing her voice when things feel hard. How can I possibly make this right or at least explain myself better? I don't want to lose her over this, but I'm terrified I've already ruined everything. TLDR, the love of my life thinks I'm a creep now. Stories number 22. I gift-wrapped my soon-to-be ex-sister-in-law's vagisil as a valuable. My brother's marriage had fallen apart after learning that his wife was cheating and had a full boyfriend on the side. My brother worked in Chicago 5 days a week and then would drive 6 hours to spend the weekend with his wife. They were newly married and the promotion to Chicago was unexpected. He was still paying for his house, so his job was providing hotels, gas, and food for free for up to 18 months while he figured out housing. During this time his wife stayed at their house. She took this opportunity to cheat and spend as much money of his as she could. She even left him so little in his account he couldn't afford to buy a pack of cigarettes while he was in Mexico for work, and it was the day after he got paid. Long story short, their relationship fell apart. She went to move in with her boyfriend and I was helping my brother pack up her stuff for her to come pick up. I was wrapping her sentimental keepsakes in packing paper and had labeled the box with the C word LOL. My brother asked me to take the C word off the box, so as a little revenge to vent my feelings, I went into the bathroom and grabbed her extra-strength vagisil, carefully and lovingly wrapped it in packing paper and placed it with her memorabilia, sweetly sandwiched between 2 seashell owls that belonged to her grandma. And if that isn't enough revenge for you, when she came to pick up her stuff, she started trying to kick in a panel window beside the front door, because she was angry that we had locked her out of the house. My brother ran to stop her and I started filming her with my phone as evidence against her, if she continued to act up. I calmly stated that I was filming her, and she advanced on me, called me the C word, and smacked my phone out of my hand. Well, that's illegal. I was going to press charges, but my brother instead used the video as leverage to keep her in line. Her parents picked up the rest of the stuff and she left us alone. It wasn't nearly enough revenge and it still isn't, but it's something and it was petty LOL. Stories number 23. I quit being a Muslim and left the country for my son. This is a burner account according to my wife to keep anonymous. I am a 42-year-old man who was Muslim for all my life. I have one beautiful child and had one wife. 2 years ago today my son had been showing me signs, painting his nails, talking in ways I wasn't familiar with, but he kept it quiet. He knew where we were from. Being gay wasn't even on the table. So, he sat me down, knowing that in our culture being gay is grounds for exile and in some extreme cases, execution. He said, "Dad, I like other boys." He told me I was the first and only person he'd ever told. I can remember how he looked at me. He looked at me with such fear it made me want to take my eyes out. I didn't want him to ever look at me that way again. I can't say I wasn't disappointed. I had always wanted him to carry on my beliefs in life and to have children who were also Muslim. But I knew as a father that I had an obligation, and I can't say for a second that I loved Allah more than my child. I would be sinning and lying to Allah and myself. So, one day within that same month, me, my wife, and my son sat down with our family and said we were leaving for work. We weren't, we left the country. My father was vehemently against gays, against everything my son was. So I knew that saying a word would get my baby crucified by the community, no life, no job, no happiness. So we left. We got the money, the means, and booked a one-way to Canada and have been living there since. My son is now 16 and I don't regret what I or my wife did. I love my son and I hope he knows that. He's even got himself a boyfriend. I'm not sure about everything but I'm trying. My wife hardly wears her hijab anymore and I haven't prayed to Allah since we left and may he forgive me, I don't want to. Stories number 24. Bridezilla Groomzilla wanted their wedding officiate to pay them for performing the ceremony. I am a wedding officiate and I recently performed a wedding for a young couple who turned out to be bride and groomzillas. After meeting with them several times and crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's and agreeing on my fee, all was set for the wedding. On the day of the wedding I kept hearing people complain that the happy couple were charging everyone in attendance a wedding tax of $100 to $500. Thinking this was strange and a little out there, but I decided that it wasn't my business and what the bride and groom did to secure funds for their wedding shouldn't concern me. Ding ding ding, wrong answer. After performing a beautiful ceremony with the newlyweds sharing both a unity candle and a unity sand ceremonies, everyone exited to the reception in the next room. Before I could either remind them about me fee or remind them that we all needed to sign the marriage license, they hit me with a big bombshell. They told me that everyone needed to pay them a minimum wedding tax fee of $100, and that included me. Mind you, I have not yet collected my $50 fee. Yes, I only charged them $50. They told me that it was a requirement for everyone attending the wedding. Remember, I have yet to sign the marriage license. I told them I shouldn't have to pay since I performed their wedding, and they still needed to pay me my fee. They both said that if I didn't pay my share, I should leave and not attend the reception. Cue evil internal grin. I said fine, and left, leaving an unsigned marriage license with them. I was about halfway home when my phone began to ring with calls and texts from the bride, the groom, both MILs, and a couple of bridesmaids. I waited until I got home to read them and then relaxed with a cold beer. All of them apologizing for charging me to attend the wedding and said that if I returned they would pay me what they owed me and I could even stay for the remainder of the reception if I signed the license. After about an hour, I started to return calls and informed them that I was so distraught about everything that I had only one, beers when I got home and couldn't drive back there to sign the license. The next day I met with the newlyweds and their mothers at an agreed-upon coffee shop. The happy couple would barely make eye contact with me and the mothers did most of the talking. They apologized for the way that I was treated and that they shouldn't have even thought about charging me anything. Then the bride's mother handed me an envelope with $500 cash saying that it was for what I endured from their children. I learned later from another party that the $500 came from the couple's honeymoon fund that the parents all contributed to. After accepting the money, and receiving an apology from both of the newlyweds, I asked if they had the license with them so I could sign it. After signing it and handing it back, the bride and the groom looked up at me and again apologized to me. I told them that it's now all in the past and to enjoy their honeymoon. I don't know how long the marriage will last, nor do I care. They are out of my hair. I did learn a valuable lesson though. Always get paid in cash before performing the ceremony. Stories number 25. Aita 4, controlling my wife's free time. My wife and I are in our early 40s with a couple kids, so our lives are pretty busy. We try our best to give each other one night a week to ourselves. Our free time to unwind or pursue solo hobbies or whatever. When the weather is nice, my wife often likes to go hiking. Sometimes with her sister, sometimes with our dog, sometimes by herself. If she's going hiking, I ask her to let me know where she's going and roughly when she'll be home. I want to know so in case something happens I know when to be concerned and where to start looking. She's grumbled about it a little bit before, but it's mostly never caused any issues until a couple days ago. She had her free time night on Monday and told me she was hanging out with her sister. Tuesday morning I asked how her sister was doing and if they had fun. She told me everything was good and they had a good time hiking together. I said something like, "Hey, please remember to let me know where you're going and when you'll be home if you're going hiking," and she blew up at me. She said she's so tired of me trying to control her free time and that it's not fair of me to try and micromanage what she does and where she goes when she never does that to me. It devolved into an argument from there and we're both still pretty annoyed about it. From my perspective, it's not about controlling her, it's about safety. She's out in the woods, sometimes after dark, sometimes by herself. She isn't always in areas with cell phone coverage. I worry if she gets hurt or lost or something else happens to her, I wouldn't have a clue where to send help unless she tells me where she's going to be. She argues that she doesn't ask for that kind of information from me when I'm having free time, but I'm not doing activities that involve the same sort of risks. Am I the asshole for wanting to know where she is and when she'll be back when she's out hiking? Stories number 26. I got turned away from the ER last night. It took me 3 days to find the energy to get out of bed and take myself to the hospital. It's a small rural hospital, but they will easily transfer people to an urban hospital not even an hour away. I thought by going, I'd at least be able to talk to someone. I get there, the waiting room is empty. I press the button to let triage know I am there waiting, and a nurse comes out. She's tired, I get that. But I'm sitting there, crying, scared that I was going to hurt myself. She asked what my problem was, and I told her truthfully, I couldn't keep myself safe. She proceeded to tell me that there was nothing she could do, that I would be better off at home. I asked about the crisis line for our area, if she had the number, and she just shrugged. Instead, she gave me the kids' help phone number. I'm 21. I've never had to seek out help since becoming an adult, and I'm so mad, so pissed that there are nurses who willingly turn away people who are clearly not okay. I got out of bed, trying to get help, for absolutely nothing. Edit to say that I'm okay. I'm safe, I'm not alone, and I'm in the process of getting help. I did want to mention that I'm in Canada, Ontario, to be specific. I also did report the nurse. HR and a patient advocate has already been in contact with me. Thank you all for the support and information. Stories number 27. Aita for ending it with a guy because he put me before his kid. I, 26F, started talking to this guy, 30M, about 4 weeks ago. We see each other several times a week and text all day long. We've really been hitting it off. He has a 4-year-old son that he has every other weekend and every Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday morning. However, the last 3 times he was supposed to go pick up his son, something randomly happened where his son's mom had to keep him longer, and it cut into his time. He used this spare time to hang out with me longer. At first, I thought nothing of it as I know things come up, and I figured maybe he and his ex have a decent co-parenting relationship, so maybe not everything has to be by the book. After all, he seems like a great guy and speaks highly of his son. This past Tuesday, I was hanging out at his apartment. He was supposed to leave to go pick up his son. I was getting ready to go home and we were both doing that corny thing where we take forever to say goodbye, new relationships, right? He told me he wished I could stay, but his ex would kill him if he introduced me to his son so soon without discussing it with her first. I said I understood completely and agreed that it is too soon. Then I went to use the bathroom and when I came out he said, "Hey, you can stay. I just texted my ex that I got called into work." This really caught me off guard and I didn't like it at all. He shouldn't be lying and bailing on his son so he could spend time with me. I stayed for a little but then I made up an excuse and said I had to leave anyway. He kept begging me to stay since he changed his plans for me. Finally I said, "I don't want to come between you and your son. You should call your ex back and tell her you're picking him up. So I'm just going to leave." He swore to me that this was just a one-time thing and his son would never know the difference. He was upset that I wasn't more excited to spend more time with him. I went home and it dawned on me that he is probably a deadbeat dad and I just didn't see it until now. This breaks my heart for his poor kid. It sucks because I really like this guy and we had such a great connection, but I can't be with a man who puts a woman before his child. This actually turned me off so much. I ended it with him this morning and I was very honest about my reasoning. He told me that I have absolutely no clue what I'm talking about. He was extremely offended that I insulted his fatherhood based on just one incident and he said it is wrong of me to make such assumptions. I think I dodged a bullet but at the same time I'm second-guessing myself thinking maybe I overreacted and I should give him a chance. Aita for this. Stories number 28. I got a text saying my boyfriend is cheating on me. I, 23F, got a text in my spam about 3 days ago that I just now seen cause I got an inclination to check. It's from a girl's name and says the following: "How long have you and boyfriend been dating? Cause we've been sleeping together for quite a while. I just found out about you. Thought you should know. I don't care about him so good luck, you won't hear from me again." The profile is blank, I can't click on it and even on a separate account I can't find it. So, it makes me believe it's just a throwaway. I showed my boyfriend and he got defensive saying that he wouldn't do that and I'm stupid if I believe it. I don't know who this is, I can't find her anywhere or if anyone I know knows who it is. I don't know what to do, I really don't. What do I do? My boyfriend is a menace sometimes online, maybe someone just wanted to troll. Ick. But at the same time, who does that? Would someone do that? Stories number 29. My sister is dating my ex-husband's brother. I feel so bad for my nieces. I just needed to scream this out to the void somewhere because I don't know what to do. I'm angry and sad. I met my ex-husband in high school, we dated on and off throughout and then broke up senior year. I moved away and came back at 20 when we reconnected. We got back together after I moved home and moved in together after 6 months of being back together. I loved this man with everything I had, I ignored all the warning signs, I was also young and naive, I chose to believe his lies. We got married 1 year to the day of being back together, and 1 week later I was at work and I found out that he had been cheating on me the whole time we had been together. Rather, he was cheating on someone else with me. I was devastated, heartbroken, disgusted. I went home and confronted him, and he begged me to stay. He swore it was me he wanted and that we would work on our new marriage and build a life together. I was so stupid, I believed him and stayed. It didn't take long for the whole story to come out. He had been in a relationship with a student he coached. She was 13 when it started and he was 18. When I came back into the picture she was 15 and he was 21, and he decided that I would be his legal GF so that no one would find out about him and her. And apparently our relationship got carried away. I felt like my world was shattered and I fell into a deep depression. I felt like my life was over. I became angry and wanted to hurt him as much as he hurt me. So I cheated on him. I felt awful, worse than I already had, and it didn't hurt him. It just gave him a reason way to paint himself in a good light. We divorced, thank God, and once his GF was old enough they married. It took a long time and lots of therapy to get to a good place mentally and even life-wise. My family knew everything that went down, so it's not like I kept it to myself. Last August my sister told me she was dating someone new, but wouldn't tell me his name. After several slip-ups a light bulb went on in my head and I realized it was my ex-husband's brother that was her new beau. For months after they started dating they moved in together, and are engaged. She called to tell me the news and asked me to be a bridesmaid. I had been keeping all of my feelings to myself since it had come to light, and I tried to be as nice as possible but told her that no, I would not be a bridesmaid nor would I attend her wedding. His family was horrible to me during the whole process of divorce and his mother still talks shit about me even almost 15 years later. She was upset because I don't love her and I can't suck it up for one day. Even though she agreed that her MIL would probably be a see you next Tuesday to me, her words not mine, but that's not her fault and she can't control what she MIL does. Wedding talk has since been dropped, but I distanced myself from my sister because I just don't want to be involved in her nonsense. While speaking to her the other day she mentioned that she doesn't ever see or speak to my ex-husband and his wife. My mother called me last night to chat and while we were talking, she mentioned that my nieces and nephew had been spending the night at Aunt and Uncle so-and-so's house, my ex and his wife, and honestly I told my mom that I was terrified for them. He's already proved once to be a predator, what's stopping him from grooming either of my nieces? I was hurt and angry at my sister when the whole relationship started, but now I'm furious with her for lying and putting her children in danger by exposing them to a known predator. For extra context, I did report him to the police when I found out how old the girl was, but nothing ever came of it because they lied and said she was just a student. I wasn't able to get physical proof to take to the police when I made the report either. I was later contacted by the police and warned not to make another false police report just because I was a crazy ex-wife. Stories number 30. To fool by laughing at my date for being a mime and having a dad who lives in Iraq. I know this title is all over the place, but it was a disaster of a date and I feel both parts play a pivotal role in why. Today I got lunch with a girl that my friend set me up with. I was told that she's cute, sweet, and single. I was not given any more information about who this person was and to be honest I didn't really care. I was just excited to go on a date with someone. My friend gave her my number and she texted me to set a date and time to meet up. We decided to get lunch today. She was very cute and very sweet, a bit soft-spoken but exuded confidence. We start telling each other about ourselves and the first 15 minutes or so goes great. We were laughing and joking and having a great time, until she told me that when she was a kid, she wanted to be a mime, and would often dress up in the whole getup and act like a mime. I don't know about you guys, but that struck me as being objectively kind of funny. Like, I would never judge anyone for being a mime, but it's a little bit silly and I thought I was being told so I could laugh. Well, I started laughing and she immediately went straight-faced. I didn't think she was actually upset though, her expression seemed exaggerated for comedic purposes and I thought she was pretending to be upset so I could laugh at her. It sounds stupid and really douche, but at the time it just seemed like she wasn't really bothered, and we had kinda teased each other a bit before this point. I dug the hole even deeper by standing up and doing the invisible box thing. Mind you, we're in a public cafe. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea, I just thought she'd start laughing or something since, again, I thought she was purposefully pretending to be upset. She started looking around and was visibly embarrassed, and that's when I realized she was actually unhappy with me laughing about her being a mime. I sat down and apologized profusely and she just kind of nodded and said it's fine. I felt really bad, and honestly just kind of embarrassed. I think she realized and started to try and comfort me, and I said I deserved to be embarrassed because what the hell was that? We kinda started to laugh at how absurd the situation was and somehow we managed to get back to a conversation that wasn't super awkward. I asked her where she was from or where her parents were from. I could tell English was her first language, but she had a slight accent. She said her mom is Polish and that's where her accent is from, and then she started talking about her mom and how she's a great woman and raised her and her two brothers, and she specifically said that her mom taught her everything. Immediately after that she said, and my dad lives Iraq. And I laughed. You might be confused why I laughed. I know she sure was. She said, why is that funny? I said, you said your dad lives in Iraq. That's funny. Her, how? Me, obviously he doesn't live in Iraq, I thought you were making a joke. Her, he absolutely can and he does. My mom raised us on her own. Me, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to insult you or your mom. I just don't see how it's possible that he lives in Iraq. I thought you meant like he lives under Iraq. Her, what the hell are you talking about? Me, your dad doesn't live in Iraq. You were joking, right? She excused herself after that and didn't say anything else to me. I was scratching my head wondering what I did wrong, until later when I told my brother and he was able to enlighten me to how much of an idiot I am. Her dad lives in Iraq, which I have always pronounced and heard pronounced as Iraq, not Iraq. I thought she was saying her dad lives in a fucking rock. Which would obviously not be possible, and why I was so confused that she was upset at me for laughing. Especially since she just said her mom taught her everything, so I thought she was saying like, my silly dad doesn't know anything. He doesn't just live under a rock, he lives in a rock. But now I just feel like an asshole for laughing at her and practically calling her a liar when she said her dad abandoned her. I tried texting her, but I think she blocked my number. I'm gonna try to get my friend to tell her at work that I'm not the biggest jerk in the world, just maybe the biggest idiot. TLDR, I laughed at my date for being a mime, not knowing it was a sensitive subject. Then I laughed at her saying her dad lives in Iraq because I thought she said he lived in Iraq. Edit, just to clarify, we were both laughing and joking and ribbing each other the whole time. I joked about a couple things I shouldn't have and I feel horrible. To the guy who sent me a death threat in my messages, really? Edit 2, just got confirmation from my friend that she told her what had happened. She agreed that I'm an idiot, but apparently admitted that it was a funny misunderstanding. I didn't ask about a second date and I don't plan on it. Edit 3, sorry for all the edits. I just mentioned this in a comment and thought it was worth mentioning in the actual post. She made a crack at my lip because I was born with a cleft lip and now have a big ugly scar on it, and it was kind of because of that I thought, damn, this girl is cool, she's fine joking about whatever, and that's why I was messing around so much. I'm not trying to excuse my behavior, just providing some additional context. I'm not a complete asshat, just mostly one. Stories number 31. In-laws straining my marriage, but it's my fault apparently. First post, so bear with me. About a year ago, me, 28F, and my husband, 30M, allowed my BAL, 19M, to move in with us to get him out of a rough situation and help him start adulating. This was about May of last year. I agreed to have him move in with the promise from BIL and husband that it was only going to be a couple of months until BIL found a roommate to move out with. He is also to pay some rent monthly as he has a full-time job now, keep his area clean, and help out around the house. Keep in mind I have 2 children under the age of 5 and also work, and I'm still the housekeeper. Cleaning, cooking food, etc. While my husband also works about 60 hours a week. Fast forward those couple of months, no luck on finding a roommate. BL still living with us. Okay, he's young. I'm just gonna give him some more time to figure this out. I'm trying to be understanding and gracious, as I also had some help getting on my feet at this age. I have confronted BL a few times asking, so how is the roommate search going? You found an apartment yet? Only to be answered with shrugs and, I don't know. I will say, at this point I'm starting to feel in the dark with what is actually going on. As in, is there even a plan of him moving out? Is he even looking for a roommate or an apartment? Husband says just give him more time and that he's working on it. Frustrated, it's Christmas time now and he's requesting to have his girlfriend of 2 years, who lives out of state, to move in too with the promise that she has a job and they will move out in 1 month. I tell my husband that I'm not comfortable with it, as BIL was not supposed to be here at this time in the first place. Husband says I'm overreacting and starts making comments of making me sound like I don't care about his family. Angry, I just shut down and keep my mouth shut to avoid the argument. My next mistake. Girlfriend moves in and surprise, doesn't have a job and claims she's been looking for one for 3 months now since living under my roof. Fast forward to now. Rent is not being paid anymore, the cleaning of their own areas have stopped, and there has been absolutely no trying to find a way to move out of my home. I've quit asking bail questions to keep myself from being furious and directed the questions towards my husband. At this point I'm done trusting that my husband has any plan or control in this whole situation, which is driving me insane. Anytime I bring it up to my husband, I'm met with hostility and accusations of just wanting to throw his family out on the street and that I shouldn't be upset with this because I agreed to it. Agreed to what? Yes, I agreed to BL moving in for a couple of months. Yes, I graciously gave him extra time to figure things out. At this point I no longer feel comfortable in my own home and every day me and my husband argue about it, which always turn into very ugly outcomes. We don't even sleep in the same bed anymore. I'm annoyed that I've been conned into taking on 2 grown adults, while trying to raise my own family. I'm angry that I'm being made out to be the bad guy when all I wanted was to be helpful. I don't know what to do anymore. I guess my main question to the Reddit world is, Aita, because I let this all happen in the first place. Update: BL, 19M, and his GF has overstayed their welcome in my, 28F, and my husband's, 30M, home. 10+ months for the BIL and 3+ months for the GF. I was conned into the whole situation when both husband and BL said it would only be for a couple months, which was last May. Rent has stopped being paid, cleaning of their own areas stopped, and there has been no attempt of them to leave my home. I'm uncomfortable in my own home and my husband absolutely blows up at me anytime I bring it up, and accuses me of hating his family and wanting to throw them out on the street. Aita, first I would like to say thank you all for the different perspectives. Most of all the responses said I should just kick all 3 of them out and say good riddance. I will say, some of the responses gave me a good little laugh in this extremely frustrating situation, so thank you for that too. Taking everything into consideration, I gave my husband an ultimatum last night and I'm sticking to it. They need to be gone by June 1st, with all rent paid according to how I had laid it out, or else I'm moving out with the kids into an apartment. I'm also not cooking for them, just enough for me and the kids. All laundry detergents and toiletries will be kept in my closet and internet passwords will be changed. Now, before I get 2 months is too much time for them, hear me out. This is also time for me to get my ducks in a row should I actually be moving out. Which, in theory, I'll know by mid-May if they aren't moving out if they don't have anything lined up by then. I really do doubt my husband is wanting this to actually happen, me and the kids moving out, but I wouldn't put it past him thinking that I'm bluffing. All in all, I would hope it doesn't have to come to that point. I am happy to learn though after sketching a quick budget, that I would be able to support me and both of my children with my own income if worst came to worst. Thanks again. Stories number 32. Landlord taped letter to our door saying pay rent or quit. We live in an apartment complex. We received a letter on our door about protections against women from violence. Hidden behind it was a pay rent or quit notice. Coming as a total shocker because we pay our rent every month. It said we had not paid for the last 3 months. We have the money order receipts but are unable to contact anyone in the main office to discuss the matter and clear things up. We have called 3 days in a row now to no answer or response. We have talked to our neighbors and at least 4 to 5 of them have all received the same notice saying they have not paid rent in said amount of months. This seems like gross incompetence on part of management here and I just need help figuring out what to do now. We called Western Union to figure out if the money orders have been cashed and at least 2 of them, Jan, February, have been cashed about a month after we turned them in for our rent. The third one we couldn't figure out because the number wouldn't work on the receipt. I will ask Walmart if they can figure it out there. I can't afford a lawyer and I don't even know where to begin to fight this process if I can't get a hold of anyone. Stories number 33. I caught my mom cheating. My 20F parents have been happily married for 20+ years. Recently, while scrolling through our shared family Google Cloud, I found videos of my mom cheating from 8 years ago while she was away on a business trip. Every photo that's taken on any device in my family automatically gets backed up to the cloud. The videos were clearly taken in a hotel room with some old guy that is definitely not my dad. I can't get the videos out of my head and the smallest thing instantly takes my mind back to the videos. I feel so disappointed and disgusted and don't know what to do. On one hand, if I confront my mom and she ends up asking me not to tell my dad, I'll feel super guilty about it. But then on the other hand, if I end up telling my dad anyways and he doesn't know, I risk the potential of them fighting about it and worst case scenario, divorcing. There was never a period of time, especially when the videos were taken, where I remember my parents fighting or being distant, which makes me believe that it was never brought up. Their relationship isn't open and my dad is definitely not the type to cheat, but my mom is very extroverted. I'm currently away at college, but have 2 younger siblings who still live at home. I don't want this to affect them if it does end poorly. I don't know how to go about this because I can't keep it to myself anymore. Does anyone have any advice for how to bring it up to my mom and also just how to handle the situation? Stories number 34. I wish my brother would die. My brother is a drug addict. He's 34 years old. Went a few times to rehab but he never stays off the hook for long. Can't recall all the tears and screams that went on in my family because of his addiction. All the family gatherings ruined because he showed up high as a kite. All the phone calls with one of my parents crying. The sleepless nights, the violence, the insults. I cut him off 2 years ago, but I still got some updates by my parents and my sister. Yesterday he disappeared again, went for a drive while under the influence of God's know what. My sister and I took the decision to call the cops, but they said they weren't interested in a crackhead driving with a suspended license. My mom was crying and my dad was devastated. I know deep down that at some point, I will receive a call telling me he died. And I kinda hope for it. I feel so ashamed about it. But I just can't handle having my family suffer again and again. There's nothing we can do, we're all powerless. I just want all of it to end and for my parents to find peace. Stories number 35. They call me lazy while I do everything, so I'm leaving the country. Every day, my parents walk into a spotless house, a clean living room, dishes washed, dried, and put away, clean cupboards wiped down, no washing up left for them to do. I also do the laundry, folding their clothes individually, vacuuming, mopping, cleaning the bathroom, and sweeping the stairs. Yet, I feel incredibly underappreciated. The house is a mess every morning, and I am more than happy to clean up after everyone. But every weekend, when my parents are home, they still call me lazy if I'm not quick enough to get something sorted, make someone tea, or unload the dishwasher, on top of all my other household work. Now, I'm also expected to cook dinner for everyone. I am trying to build my own business while preparing for my new job, where I will be away for 6 months. After finishing my chores, I like to take some time for myself at a coffee shop. But now, on top of everything, I am being pressured to cook dinner too. My mum gets home from work at 3 p.m., and most of the time, my sister and I cook for ourselves. However, my mother gets angry when I forget to cook something for my dad. Sometimes, I am just exhausted from everything I do every day. I feel undervalued, like nothing I do is ever good enough. I even get criticized for going to Costa because my mum can't go since she works. I get laughed at for not having moved out yet, even though I am moving in April, and looked down on for claiming benefits because I can't afford my phone bill. I constantly try to explain that I get tired too and that cooking dinner on top of everything else can sometimes be too much. I deserve a life and appreciation for all that I do. It takes me hours to clean, and it hurts when I'm called lazy, especially when they don't have to lift a finger. I have secretly planned to move away for 6 to 8 months and hopefully permanently, as I will be working on a cruise. I can't take the name-calling, mockery, and lack of appreciation anymore. I am cutting my family off completely. I am tired. I feel run down. Most of all, I feel depressed. Stories number 36. AIO to my MIL and SIL sharing our wedding website link and password, inviting people behind our backs. I am actually fucking fuming right now. We're around 6 weeks out of our wedding and my MIL and SIL have been pushing us to add 38 more guests to the list. There are people we don't even know, from MIL's church, SIL's friends, whatever. We told them no because my FIL, who is covering his guest costs, said no for paying for extra 38 guests, and MIL, SIL are expecting us to bear the burden for these extra people. We finalized our list last year and the invites went out in February. All the RSVPs are due in 2 weeks, but this morning I'm waking up to a text from one of MIL's church friends, someone who was never on our guest list, sending me a thank you message for inviting her. I mean, WTF, what invitation? We didn't invite them. We've totaled 220 people on our guest list, 110 are guests, 48 my fathers and 60 my FILs. Both the fathers are covering up everything for their side of the lot. We included the site link and password on the RSVP card, assuming it would only be used by the people we actually invited. Well, now we realize that MIL and SIL took that info to log in and shared the link and password with people we explicitly told them to not invite. We don't even know how many people they sent this to, and now we have to go in and manually check every RSVP to make sure we're not suddenly hosting half of MIL's church congregation. The absolute audacity here is triggering the fuck out of me. They knew we said no. They knew FIL wasn't covering it, and both mother-daughter still went behind our backs to make it happen anyway. I have no idea how to even deal with this right now, but I swear I'm thinking if any uninvited guest shows up, MIL will be the one explaining to them at the door why they're not getting in. Sorry for the tone. Stories number 37. Wibta if I refuse to give up a water fountain the previous homeowners abandoned 4 years ago. In September 2021, we purchased a home that was built in 2019 and we moved in immediately. The previous owners, PO, left a few things at the home, including a water fountain. Within the first month, the PO asked if they could collect the fountain. We said that was fine, but they never came. It's now March-April of 2025, 4 years later, and has been sitting in the front yard. Over the last 2 years I have been organizing, prepping, and designing my front garden where it will be incorporated into my design. I am an avid gardener and decided to redo the garden, but haven't yet planted anything. It has taken me a while to actually get started for multiple reasons. The first year we were settling in. Second year I had to learn about the seasons. I'm from FL, we don't have seasons, research native plants, best planting times, amongst other things. The most important reason was because the house was built poorly and we had to repair an entire wall that was in the main section of the garden. There is no point for me to plant when we will be doing construction work. After we finished the exterior part of the wall, winter started. The roof still needs repairs, but I have access to the area now. I planned on power washing, repairing, and painting the water fountain this weekend, but I got COVID and again delayed. I dismantled the fountain and relocated it to various places to be worked on. Suddenly, the PO messaged my husband stating he wants the water fountain back. It's his 45th anniversary soon and it was his wife's 35th anniversary present. Stating he'll be by this weekend to get it. I told my husband to inform the PO that I'm no longer willing to part with it. PO states it's not mine to part with and he'll be by to pick it up. It has been on our property for 4 years. It's considered abandoned property after 30 days, we gave him the chance to pick it up, but they didn't. We're not a storage unit. What claim is it his to come get it? I understand it was an anniversary gift but clearly he didn't care enough to get it in the last 4 years. This house was brand new, but terribly built by the PO. Everything that could be wrong is wrong. Roof is missing edge pieces, subfloor is uneven causing the entire floor to be uneven with gaps in all the wood, the entire house needs new siding because they installed the hardy board incorrectly and now falling off. For different colors and textures of caulk used in the backsplash of kitchen, screws popping out of every single wall in the house, studs aren't 16-inch on center. The list goes on and on. We literally have to rebuild the house from bottom up. Before you ask, yes we had an inspector but no he didn't catch these things. We're also trapped in the house because we bought during the VID times and the interest rates were very low. So, moving isn't an option. Trust me, we would if we could. So, Aita for not giving up the water fountain 4 years after he sold us a terribly built home. Stories number 38. I ruined my life. So basically, I got depressed a few months back and made some awful decisions. Honestly, I didn't realize I was depressed because I wasn't feeling sad, just lacked motivation or hope of any sort. I ended up neglecting my family, friends, school and my boyfriend too. I got addicted to playing games and I was practically nocturnal for some time. My boyfriend broke up with me and I didn't care. I just made a chatbot of him, I didn't put his voice though, that would have been an invasion of privacy. How fucking stupid. Anyway I didn't realize how insane and nonsensical I was being at the time until my addiction subsided and now I'm so lost I just doom scroll every day trying to escape my reality. Help, my brain is so cooked. Stories number 39. Aita for not rescheduling my wedding after my sister was widowed. I, 34M, am supposed to get married next month. Now I'm not sure it's going to happen. My partner's sister, 35F, was widowed last month. I've gotten a front row seat of how it has rocked my soon-to-be in-laws. Everyone has really tried going above and beyond for his sister, making sure she's as comfortable as possible. And I truly can't imagine, you know. You'd probably have to institutionalize me if something happened to my boy. My partner's mom came to him a few days ago and asked if he would consider postponing the wedding. She said they would cover all the lost money, would help us replan, etc. Apparently his sister has said there's no way she can attend the wedding, and his mom knew how important it was to him to have her there, so she just wanted to offer an alternative plan. I'm not very sentimental, but my partner is. Our wedding was planned for the 10-year anniversary of when we met. That's something that meant a lot to him, which makes it mean a lot to me, too. I'm trying to be sympathetic, but I'm just fucking raging. I can't help it. My emotions aren't allowing me to be objective. I know his mom came to him in good faith, but it makes me so angry to think about this being put on his shoulders a month before our wedding. He was so excited, and now I'm worried that if we don't reschedule, he's just going to be in his head the whole time, feeling guilty and unable to fully enjoy himself. I know his sister is hurting. I'm trying my absolute hardest not to piss off the family that is soon to be mine, one that's already mine in a lot of ways. Still, I'm so mad. I'd appreciate some objective POVs. Edit, getting lots of she's and hers in comments. I'm a man. Doesn't having much weight in the story, just wanted to clear it up. Stories number 40. Aita for kicking my homeless friend out of my apartment. My, F23, friend, F25, is homeless and has been living with me for months in my studio apartment but I kicked her out yesterday. I got so fed up with her living in my apartment doing nothing while I pay for all her expenses like food, gas when she uses my car, water and electricity she uses etc. I am a university student with 2 part-time jobs barely making ends meet, it being especially so when paying for another person's expenses. I wouldn't mind if she lived with me for a while when she gets her stuff together, I wouldn't even mind letting her stay here for free. But it's been months and she hasn't looked for a job and she didn't seem to plan to leave anytime soon. Like a week ago I told her to help me with groceries or anything at all, and if not she should start to look for another place to stay. She apparently didn't have money to pay for anything, so I told her she should look for another place to stay. She didn't even try to find another place, so I kicked her out and gave her phone numbers to homeless shelters she could go to. She is telling me I'm the holy, and honestly I'm feeling a little guilty. But I tried helping her the best I can, but I just had enough. I think I might be in a holy since technically I could afford helping her, and the notice before I kicked her out was minimal. Sorry for any grammatical errors, English isn't my first language. Edit, I don't like how y'all are saying she's not a friend. She definitely is, I've known her since elementary school. She's been dealt some bad cards in life, so I don't blame her for taking advantage when her situation for once is stable in my house. Honestly, I'm proud to be able to have given her some peace in her mess of a life. It's just that she did it for so long, and when it really started to affect my living and finances a lot, it started to bother me. Stories number 41. Should my relationship end because we can't agree on having kids? My girlfriend, 24F, and I, 22M, have been dating for about 2.5 years now. We started dating during my sophomore year and her junior year of college. We've had a cat for the past 2 years and have been living together for the past year. I could absolutely see myself spending the rest of my life with her. However, she does not want kids, and I do. I first brought up the idea of having kids after about a year of dating, and she said no. At the time, I didn't think much of it because I wasn't sure if I wanted kids either. But over time, I've realized that I do. One of her biggest reasons for not wanting kids is that she wants to travel, and she believes having a child would prevent her from doing so. I don't want kids for another 4 to 6 years, and I've explained that my future career will pay well enough for us to travel extensively before settling down. But she still says no. She doesn't want to go through pregnancy, deal with postpartum depression, or feel like she has no freedom once a child is in the picture. I always told myself that we would revisit the conversation before getting married. But as I get closer to graduation and start job hunting, I'm realizing that I also need to think about where I'll be living. That means new places and experiences, memories I'd love to make with her. But I worry that continuing to build a life together will only make things harder when we inevitably have to revisit this conversation again. We recently talked about it, and she said there's about a 10% chance she will want kids in the future. While I've tried to convince her, we both understand the dangers of having kids when one parent isn't fully on board. I love this woman deeply. We've been through so much together, and I can't imagine my life without her. But I also know that if she never changes her mind, it might be smarter to break up now rather than waiting until we're engaged or married. So, I'm asking for advice. Should I wait it out and hope she changes her mind, or should we break up now before things get even more serious? Stories number 42. Aita, for telling my dad my mom cheated. I, 17F, never had a great relationship with my mom. She always favored my siblings, and we've always clashed because we're so similar. I'm the only one who can see through her BS, and she can do the same with me since she was exactly like me when she was younger. I've always been closer to my dad, we're best friends and tell each other everything. A few years ago, my mom became distant from the family. She left me to take care of my dad when he needed her the most because he had 3 surgeries at once. After 2 years, she reappeared in our lives trying to act like the best mom and wife ever, cooking, buying me stuff, etc. But, I still felt like she wasn't a good person. Now, here's the recent part. One day, I come home from school and decide to call my mom to ask for advice on how much I should sell a pair of sneakers for. She tells me she's going to send me screenshots of other people selling them so I can get an idea on pricing. When she sends me the screenshots, I see a message exchange on her phone. It's from a contact saved as spam, and the messages say, GM ma, GM, I couldn't sleep last night, why? Because I needed you next to me. I immediately hung up on her and called my dad to tell him and sent him the screenshots. They were already in the process of separating because of her possibly cheating, but this was the proof they needed for the court. I knew it wasn't my dad she was messaging because the contact was saved as spam. Since then, my dad has been heartbroken, and I've been getting blamed by my mom for ruining the family. She says it wasn't my business to tell and that I should have stayed in a child's place. But I'm about to turn 18, and I don't think I'm a child anymore. I felt like it was the right thing to do. Now, I feel like the black sheep of my family. So, AITA for snitching. Stories number 43. AITA for leaving my date at the bar. So this weird thing happens last week and every I talk to has a different response to this story, so I am going to ask this subreddit for their judgment. For context, every other Thursday at a bar in my town they have an open mic night. I go every single time they have it. I like to unwind, sit at a table by myself and listen to some of the local artists in town. My girlfriend typically doesn't come along because she isn't a fan of genres most people do at these open mics. At the most recent night a woman came up to my table and asked if she could sit there to avoid a creepy guy who kept hitting on her. I said sure. Once she sat down she started talking to me, which was fine I guess. I would rather sit in silence, but I politely nodded along and mostly tried to tune her out and listen to the performers. After a few sets one of the employees came to take her order. I get the same thing every time and the staff all know that. She talked most of the night, which was frustrating but fine. The waiter came back and asked if we wanted our bills separate or together. I said separate, which she got upset about. I only keep a small amount of cash on me and I had just enough for my meal and a tip for the server. She paid for her food so it was fine I guess. I was pretty tired of her so I wanted to leave as soon as possible at that point, so I asked if the creepy guy was gone or still at the bar. She looked at me confused and said, "What creepy guy?" She then figured it out and told me that was a line she just used to sit at my table. I am very pissed off at this point so I just get up and leave. She follows me out and asks if we are heading back to my place and I told her I have a girlfriend so leave me alone. I then got in my truck and left. After telling my friends and my girlfriend this they each had different reactions. My girlfriend thought it was messed up that I got put in that situation, while most of my friends say I should have offered to give her a ride home or a Uber before leaving her alone at the bar. Stories number 44. Aita for calling my friend a hypocrite when he told me the reason he filed for divorce. Last night I met up with some friends I hadn't seen in a long time. Let's call them Chad and Kyle. We were drinking, chatting, and having fun, and all of a sudden the mood changed. Somehow the topic turned to Chad's recently finalized divorce. I hadn't seen him in a while, so I was unaware he was getting a divorce. When I asked him why they got divorced, the conversation, as I remember it, went something like this. Chad, she cheated on me. Me, trying to stifle a laugh, you're serious? You of all people. You cheated on her with multiple people over the years, and when she does the same, you divorce her? Chad, it's not the cheating, it's the lack of respect. I made sure to respect her, so she never knew about my cheating. But she couldn't give me that same respect. Me, that's not respect, that's your ability to hide your cheating versus hers. Respect would be not cheating on her. Chad, so you're saying what she did is alright? Me, no, I'm not. I'm saying you, the serial cheater, are a hypocrite to immediately divorce her for cheating. Somehow Kyle got us to calm down and change the subject. When I got up to take a leak, they got back to the subject. I came back and they were talking about why Chad thought it was okay for him to cheat. In his mind, the cheating was good for the sex life with his, now ex-wife and their marriage. Some things he said were, if you have sex outside, you'll work harder in bed with your wife, and sex in a marriage gets boring, so if I go get some excitement outside, I can work on the rest of the marriage. I kept making remarks like, I bet she thought the same when she did it. Apparently, I wouldn't understand because I'm not married. I don't have to be married to understand loyalty and respect. Kyle is married and has told us he's getting in a bit of a slump with his wife. While my advice is to do some interesting new things with his wife, Chad is explaining why his cheating worked to make his marriage exciting. No, I don't condone what Chad's wife did, but I do think he's a hypocrite for divorcing his wife for cheating, since he is a serial cheater. I don't know Chad's ex-wife, I've only met her twice. Knowing him, she is better off without him. When we left, I told Kyle, if you want your wife to divorce you and get majority custody of your son, you should listen to Chad. Anyway, I'm going to the kitchen now. I promised Lexi I would make a shepherd's pie today. Update. Not necessarily an update of the situation. Just an update of the people involved. Not long after the post, Kyle distanced himself from Chad. He said Chad was pushing him in a direction he did not want to go, so he stepped back. Kyle is a nice guy and we've become closer friends. Kyle did listen to some friends about how to spice up the relationship with his wife. And it worked. They are expecting a second child. Kyle hopes it's a girl. Kyle wanted to do one more thing before having a second child. He wanted a ride with his boys. So this weekend we are renting a few hogs and we're going on a ride. He invited 6 friends, and I've added 2 more experienced riders. He's calling it the bachelor party he never had. The girlfriends and wives of the riders have their own party that weekend. About Chad, I haven't seen him since that post. I've heard some rumors, none good. A few days ago I heard what happened to him. About a month ago, Chad was shot and killed. I only just heard it, so obviously I did not go to the funeral. Kyle was also not aware this had happened. Chad was sleeping with a married woman. And she was married to someone with a very short fuse and access to guns. I don't know what happened to that woman. The guy that shot him is currently waiting trail, so that is the update. I'm going to get ready for the weekend. Because we have a lot of inexperienced riders, this will be a non-alcoholic weekend. Stories number 45. It's so hard not to be a boyfriend girl. Everybody likes to talk about those girls who seem to only hang out with their boyfriends. I was never one of those people, but I've become one. It's so hard not to be when he is consistently the only person in my life who treats me like a priority. Everyone else in my life seems to be so involved with themselves that they forget I am here. I have always gone out of my way to notice the unnoticed, to be inviting and welcoming and to ensure no one ever feels left out, but with everyone in my life right now except my partner, they can't do the same. I am constantly left out by my friends and my family doesn't even seem to notice me when I'm right there. They often talk over me and the only person who seems to notice is my partner. He is the only one who looks to me to let me know that he's still listening. He sees me when others don't. Plans are made without me in rooms that I am sitting in. The only person who ever wants to see me is my boyfriend. I have plenty of friends, but I've never been somebody else's best friend. My best friends have always had other best friends. It's never me. I'm my boyfriend's best friend, and he's become mine. Both of us agree that it's vital to maintain friendships outside of relationships, and we do. I have friends. I just wish I was somebody's best friend, so now I'm a boyfriend girl. I love hanging out with my boyfriend. He makes me feel seen, he makes me feel special, he cares, he listens. He's my favorite person and he's not shy about me being his. I would love to share life with friends who are kind to one another and who treat each other with respect, eager to lift one another up in their times of need. Another year older and wiser, another year where I don't feel like nurturing dead connections. I am ready to surround myself with friends who encourage each other to grow and learn. I just hope I can find them, but I do have my partner. I'll be a boyfriend girl any day for him. He's my rock. I thank whatever God there is for him every day. Stories number 46. My boyfriend refuses to actually listen and hear me, so I blocked him 6 hours ago and it's more peaceful than I thought it would be. My boyfriend M37 and IF23 have been fighting constantly for the last month over cheating and trust. I'm bipolar and have been manic for probably around 2 months at this point. I went into a psychosis the beginning of March. I thought everyone was out to kill me or lock me up. I couldn't trust my family, friends, or my boyfriend. I genuinely thought he was a psychopath. I was having auditory hallucinations, the whole bit. Anyways, come out of my psychosis, but I'm not out of my manic state, so I still have pretty intense paranoia at times. This has led me to be pretty paranoid about what he's doing and if he's cheating on me. I try not to go through his things because it's an invasion of privacy and I know my mental state is pretty much dictating these feelings. The few times I have, I've never found anything. All I've asked for is reassurance, but he gets so defensive and starts screaming at me, profanity, and manipulation. Last night I think I had a breaking point. He told me to leave. I was at his place. I knew it was some stupid little game, and he didn't actually want me to leave, and he was gonna chase me. This has happened more than once, but this time I did leave. He had to watch me get dressed and pack all my things up. He had more than enough time to take it back, but waited until I was already in my car. I locked the doors and left. On my drive, I realized while some of it's paranoia, I do have a genuine reason to feel this way. I feel like I put way more effort into our relationship than he does. I don't get to spend quality time with him. He doesn't plan dates. I had to ask him for a card and flowers on our 1-year anniversary. He was between jobs during Valentine's Day, so I wasn't expecting a nice outing or whatever, but he could have made me dinner and gave me a massage or something. I got nothing. I drew him one of those Victorian coin purses. Spent 6 hours on it. He has to ask me what gifts I want, because apparently it's impossible to shop for me. My girlfriends who I've known for less time and do not interact with as intensely than him buy me amazing, thoughtful gifts. Why can't he? It's like he doesn't even know who I am as a person. I wonder if he even knows my favorite color. So, it's led me to feel insecure in our relationship, and I feel like he's putting his energy elsewhere. I told him all this last night, and he just can't seem to grasp it. He keeps making me the problem. That I shouldn't distrust him because he hasn't done anything. Well, I do, because you also haven't done anything to prove that you even love me or know me as a person. When I talk to him, he's barely ever paying attention to me. We don't have a conversation. He doesn't ask me questions about what I'm saying. He just listens and then he goes on to talk about himself. Sometimes he isn't even listening and I have to repeat myself. I recently started going to the gym. I was doing cardio, but I put up weight for the first time. I expected, oh, how much were you lifting? Or what workouts did you do? Nothing. He just said, good job baby, you're gonna be sore. WTF. He blames it on his ADHD. Yeah, who cares, I have ADHD too. Doesn't mean you just can't listen or engage in conversation to a person talking to you. Sometimes when I feel paranoid and ask him questions about his phone or whatever he's doing, he'll be perfect and reassure me sweetly, and that's the end of it. I shut up. Everyone's happy. Other times when he lashes out, he blames it on his mental problems and that he isn't in the right state of mind. I haven't been stable for 2 months, I'm not over here being a monster. I say how I feel directly but politely. I don't accuse him. I don't go screaming how many bitches you got in your phone. Or WTF are you doing, cheating. I'm like, hey, when you did this it made me feel, ECT. Anyways, he keeps making me the problem, instead of slightly altering his actions to make me feel better or fixing the problem, or reassuring me. He just wants me to go back to being normal. Well buddy, it isn't gonna happen unless you change too, and I've been as good as I can be throughout this, but God forbid I feel insecure. It's like a crime to him. Just stop making me feel insecure, man. I've laid it all out for you. Today he called me to tell me some blonde girl asked for him yesterday at work. He was off, and I was just like okay. We couldn't figure out who it could be, so I said maybe you have a secret admirer. He went on to like praise himself and be like, yeah, see, I always tell you when this type stuff happens and blah blah. And I said, why are you over explaining, it makes me feel weird when you say this, and he flipped out on me. I didn't even accuse him of anything or have an issue with this blonde girl. Who cares? Aita, where all that came from. So I blocked him. He refuses to listen. Well, you don't have to listen anymore, and I don't want to hear your nonsense. He hasn't tried contacting me on anything else either, and he knows where I live. So just another action showing me he doesn't even really care. I'm not sure what's going on, or where this is headed, but everything will work out the way it's supposed to, I suppose. Anyways, if you got this far, thanks for reading my book. Edit. I'd like to add to the gift thing, because it's kinda funny and I just thought of it. My friend gave me a dead frog in a box and I loved it. I still have it. Sitting on my desk. My cat is also obsessed with it, so I stays locked in the box. I really feel like it shouldn't be that hard. Edit. Guys, I'm aware of the age gap. I picked him. I've always been with older men. Leave me alone about it. That isn't what this is about. Raw. Stories number 47. I'm visiting home for the first time in a few years, and I'm noticing how toxic the men in my family are. If you had asked me whether I thought my family were toxic before I moved away from my home city, I would have said no. Half of them have ADHD, they love to drink, but that's part of the culture they come from. On my first day back, my uncle said my aunt needs a bullet in the head, when I insisted on pulling the car around for her, at her request, and his objection, when she has a pre-existing injury and is in her 60s. Why did he have a problem with her needs being accommodated, when she has spent her entire life accommodating the needs of everyone else around her? Why should she be threatened with death for causing him an inconvenience? My uncle isn't a violent man. I have no concerns for her safety, and it was said in jest. If I had heard it 2.5 years ago, I would have been annoyed, but I would not be experiencing somewhat of an existential crisis threat to how I perceive them, like I am now. I don't know what I wanted to gain from this post, and there are other, some worse, things I've witnessed about the men in the family since coming back home. Thankfully I'm only here for a week. All to say, fuck the patriarchy. It is alive and well. It is in our families, our social systems, our research, and our policies. Stories number 48. Aita for not reprimanding my son after he told one of my family members to shut the hell up. I, at 45, have always been a faithful woman. While I didn't read the Bible all the time, my family was raised Christian. I am African American, and the idea of me going to church is normal and frowned upon it. I don't. My husband is a white Australian man who begrudgingly hasn't had much to do with Christ. They pray from time to time, but they're not hardcore like my family. I have 3 kids, M17, and F16, twins and a girl. They grew up in Australia, but my husband relocated the family to Georgia for work. I grew up in Alabama, but I have family in Georgia. My family has seen my kids, but due to them living so far away, they're never really given the chance to be super close and tight-knit, and some just outright refuse to come to Australia to see them because it's hell over there. We went to a function and originally it was going well until one of my aunts said we should do a communal service, and my twin boys clearly weren't into it, and my daughter just outright said she wasn't going to. My husband stood by them, making it into a whole argument with my family about how they should go to church while they're here and whatnot. I stood by my kids and said that if they were going to be doing the most about them not going to church, we would happily leave and enjoy the sights while we're here. It ended up with us leaving, and as we did so, one of my grandmas, who I hadn't seen in about 5 years, was in tears and said I needed to save them and offered to get them baptized, and I told her respectfully to stop being weird. This got me cursed out by one of my relatives, and before me or my husband could say a word, one of my twin boys, Kai, fake name, told them to shut the hell up and not to talk to me like that. We hadn't been back since, and while we definitely gave him an earful about respecting adults, I was, secretly, proud that he stood up for me like that. Since then I've gotten call after call, offer after offer about getting that boy, my son who swore, into church and whipping him into shape. I'm getting words from my own mother I've never heard before, Aita for not reprimanding him then and there after he cursed one of his elders out. Stories number 49. Male loneliness is a psyop. Greedy people saw how much money they could make off of insecure women, so now they make men insecure. And they do it the same way, portraying a highly specific body type most people don't have as the ideal and everything else as ugly. The result is average-looking people think they're unattractive and don't put themselves out there as much. But there's an added dimension of making men insecure about their finances and personality. I think red pill stuff is part of it as well. It teaches men the shallowest women are normal and women are not attracted to men for their personalities, but for their money and physical characteristics. It teaches men that healthy things, liking someone for who they are, being vulnerable with your partner, are actually bad. It's pretty much impossible to have intimacy if you believe this. A relationship without vulnerability isn't intimate. It's obvious this is coordinated because there's a huge disparity in how much you hear about this IRL versus online. There's a huge effort online to keep people away from reality so they stay alone and insecure. Stories number 50. Awkward convo at work. Was with 4 colleagues and astrology came up. I was saying I don't believe in it but it's fun to read about and this guy started laughing at me and basically saying that it was ridiculous. I asked him if he believed in God. And he said yes. And I was like, so you believe in an invisible force in the sky that helps protect you and does nice things for you if you ask through prayer? How is that not just as ridiculous? Everyone got really quiet. I said, I'm sorry I just don't feel like you can say believing in some invisible cosmic things is legitimate and others are not. He argued that his belief was different. I asked why. And he said because of philosophical evidence. I said the only evidence that exists is from people who made up stories a long time ago and powerful institutions with money have decided to tell people it's true and you have decided to believe it because you have faith. People who believe in astrology also place their faith in it the same way people do with Jesus. Everyone got quiet again. I kind of apologized but also said you can't invalidate someone's beliefs BC you think it's silly. For the record, I don't believe in God or in astrology. I think they're both silly and made up. Stories number 51. AIO after being pissed off that my female, 21F, friend asked me, 21M, out as a test. A few months ago, I asked a classmate out and she said no. I respected that, and we became quite good friends. I still liked her a bit, but had no intentions of asking her out again and was perfectly fine just being friends. I wasn't waiting for her to like me, I genuinely thought we were going to remain friends. A few days ago, she asked me out. Being autistic AF, I failed to realize this was probably a test, which it was, and said yes. She told me she was just testing to see if I still liked her. I was pretty pissed off, mainly because I've never been asked out before and I've explicitly told her I struggle to tell when people like me, so it felt kind of manipulative from my end. I haven't really spoken to her much since. Am I right to be pissed?